This episode of the Hook It podcast is once again supported by 35 Bikes. 35 Bikes are dedicated to bringing you the best bike components for the best price. It's that simple. So whether you need organic or sintered brake pads, you need brake rotors, a narrow wide chain ring, mudguards, or even some custom mudguards for your brand, your bike shop, organisation, race team, or whatever, make sure to ask for 35 Bikes in your local bike shop or head to 35bikes.com for more information and to find your local stockist.
Welcome to the Hook It podcast, endorsed by @ODub_23. Add me, tag me, follow me, please follow me.
What is going on, podcast fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Hook It podcast. As usual, thank you for checking in and coming on by and listening to another episode. If you're a new listener, then welcome. If you're an existing listener, then thank you. And thank you for carrying on leaving reviews and giving us feedback. It means a bunch. If you haven't already, please head over to iTunes and leave a review. It means an absolute bunch. It helps the podcast get more recognised, and the more listeners the better, the more the merrier. It's all good fun. So, first thing I need to say is I don't know if anyone will have seen this just yet, but a guy called Franz Grossman was injured in Mexico this weekend at an event. Now, although personally I don't know Franz, he did ride both Ninja's gloves and Sensor's grips, which means he's part of the family. He is in a bit of a bad way, much like Andrew Cho. Again, I didn't know Andrew. He was injured riding his bike, and we did a bit of a shout out on the podcast, and it did actually kind of help. People did go check out the GoFundMe page, and if you can spare £1 or £2 or anything more, let's see if we can help Franz out with some of his medical bills and stuff. So there'll be a link in the show description for that. Anyway, Lourdes is done. Round 1 is out the way. Crazy race. And who better to help break things down than someone who was there themselves? Someone who takes some of the most badass pictures in the world. A magazine editor. What else? Wow. Deep Summer Rotorua winner. An all-round general savage. Boris Maddog Beyer. So, let's welcome him to the show. Let's crack on. Welcome to the show, Boris Beyer. All right, man, I pressed the button. We're let's not make it any more formal than it just was, if that makes sense.
No, it's fine. Stoked to be here.
Thank you, man. Really appreciate you doing this. It's really good of you. So, yeah, I guess officially, welcome to the Hook It podcast, episode 26. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I think actually it's pretty funny. I still remember when you dropped me the message on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you're introducing yourself, and I was like, dude, I'm listening to your podcast all the time. And actually, I wrote a little column about your podcast for the magazine. So, it was funny. And now I'm here. And as I told you, I'm a bit nervous. It's a positive nervosity. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's good.
It's good.
I'm a bit tired, and it gives me the adrenaline to stay awake and answer your questions and have a cool chat with you.
Well, as you know, I'm having a little glass of wine to try and keep awake. So after a pretty rough weekend of basically just, I'll be honest, just shitting my pants almost for 2 days. I've not eaten anything pretty much since Friday about lunchtime.
Oh my God.
So this glass of wine, it could be bad. It could be a real big issue. It could be
straight.
Yeah, just straight to my head. I'd just be slurring my words anytime soon.
That's good. I think it's a good vibe.
Yeah.
I'm on the water. I think a lot of people will be surprised. Mayhem Media will be pretty sad about me that I'm drinking water here. But as I told you, if I drink beer, we have a lot of breaks because I have to go to the toilet.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But about diary, when you have stomach problems, it's actually a little fear at the World Cups.
Oh, really?
So, I'm doing it now for 6 years or something, and I never had to take toilet paper with me.
Not yet.
Fingers crossed. You'd be pretty fucked if this happens. And you're missing your riders because you're sitting in the bushes and you hear people screaming, "Yeah, Greg, yeah, Gwyn," and you're sitting in the bushes and missing them. So, but fingers crossed, I will never be in this situation.
No, I can imagine a lot of people come down off the hill with no socks and maybe no underwear.
I think we have to ask Duncan. I'm not sure. I think he used one time his sleeve from a shirt or something, or his socks. I'm not sure. He told me now in Lourdes that he used his old bib he had in the bib from the year before. He had
nice.
I hope the UCI is not mislistening because they're missing some bibs.
The shit bib. All right, man. So
yeah,
let's kick things off by. I'd like to. As you've been listening. Let people do your own little brief introduction, if that's okay, as to who you are and what you do.
I'm Boris Beyer from international. I'm born and raised in Germany, but I see myself as international. I'm always stoked when Sven introduced me to people that I'm the most untypical German they will ever met.
Okay.
I'm a World Cup photographer for the last years, but since 2 weeks I can say I make a living out of it. Mm-hmm. Oh no, 2 weeks. I quit the editorial job at the magazine where I was working the last 6 years.
Right.
2 weeks ago, and I'm doing the photography job for 6 years. But it was more like a bonus for me the years before. So the magazine paid the bills, mm-hmm. and all the World Cups, Crankworks, and were just a bonus. Right. So this is my first season as a full-time paid photographer, okay. And believe I'm 21 years old, and my passport says something different. I'm 36, and I'm living at the moment with my brother in Hagen. It's close to Dortmund, Düsseldorf, Cologne. If some people, okay. What else? Tell me, what else we want to know?
I think that's pretty good. That's a good start, right? That's pretty much all the main bullet points. I mean. You just alluded to you've started doing this professionally. Well, not professionally, but full time.
Yeah.
But how did you get into being a photographer and working in the bike industry?
Maybe I should, when Kathy started, she's like, she needs a bit more time.
Kathy started it. I think she was 5 years old when she started a story. We came all the way through.
I will not start that early, but I think my whole life, my CV shows how I see my life and how actually especially about the work. So I was not bad in school, but just mathematics was a A. I think A is the best one. So
yeah.
Even in German, you have English in school, we have German, and it was the worst class I had.
Okay.
So where
so
to
you
start?
can add up, but you can't write sentences too good.
Actually, it was pretty funny because I ended up a couple of years later working for a magazine writing stories, but we had a good lector. Is the same word in English?
Yeah.
The guy who was checking everything.
Oh, editor. I guess we call it an editor or a proofreader or something.
Proofreader, but he had a lot of work with my stuff. So now when I was 10, I got my first mountain bike. It got stolen. I got another one. Got stolen again. So I thought, no, mountain biking. It was a big hype in the 90s when mountain bikes got cool the first time, I think.
Yeah.
So then no mountain bikes anymore. Then I was doing graffiti, and then with 13, I got my first camera to take pictures of graffitis. So I had a massive photo book with all the trains and all this stuff. Not just not my trains, just the stuff that I saw outside. So when I was 13, I wasn't doing trains and walls, just legal walls.
Okay. Yeah, that's huge over there, right? It's like doing train, subway, stuff like that.
Not this, back in the days, especially in Dortmund, everything was full world cars. It's like, it means like from top to bottom was all the full train was colored, was sprayed.
Yeah.
But these days, I think it's not that crazy anymore.
Yeah. Now
so that was
CCTV and stuff. People can get caught for this type of thing.
The videos, actually, I think the whole thing went pretty crazy. There are so many, like, they film themselves now doing it.
Yeah.
But on daylight, there's a big group of 10 guys with bags of cans. The train just stops actually to let people in, and they spray the whole thing with big fat caps, and they're doing the whole train while it's actually daytime, and they do it in 5 minutes and they're gone. Wow. So I think the social media thing changed also a lot of graffiti. Back in the days, there was just, you had your books, your black books and all this stuff, and I think it's also changed a lot, the whole thing. So first mountain bikes as with 10, first camera with 13, then a lot of time partying, where no sports involved and all this stuff. So then little work. Started my quality control apprenticeship when I was 17. I'm not sure if I should. No, most people know I was a stoner a long time. So I was just just doing my work, but nothing else. It was just hanging out and partying and all this stuff. So I was not into a lot of stuff. Yeah, I just enjoyed my youth, let's say. So, but when I finished my apprenticeship, I was also stoked about sports cars and all this stuff. I heard that close to my house on the next city, there is a headquarter of a Formula 3 team. So I just went there, told them, hey, I love this. I love the stuff you're doing. You need a worker. I would work for free. The guy said, I'm stupid. No one is working for free. So it took me as a helping mechanic for 1 year, for one season. I was the helping mechanic for the team. Okay. And I thought about to make it like afterwards to do it for a lot of years because, when I'm stoked about something or passionate about something. But I figured out that it's for them, it's just a job for the mechanics. And they were used of bonus money because of all the good drivers before. Maybe I was lucky that the year when I did it, the drivers were pretty shit. So the atmosphere was pretty shit because I didn't got the bonus money from the points. So I decided like this is not what I want to do. If there's such a bad atmosphere, just because the drivers had a bit of results, sucks. So then I got an offer from a Greek company to bring the German thinking of quality control to a Greek company because they wanted to produce for the automotive industry. So I was 21, 22. I bought my first suit, got a plane. I was a party kid, so it was just lucky that I had this finished apprenticeship kind of okay. So I flew to Greece, had an interview, came back, got the okay that I got the job. So and then I lived when I was 21, I think, in the January 2003. I moved to Greece, lived there 1 year. Actually, the company wanted to have me longer, but also I got also bored again.
Was it a car company in Greece?
No, it was an aluminum producer. But they to produce aluminum for the car industry, and the Greek understanding of quality control. When you want to produce for a German company, you need German standards, and they just started a German office, and they didn't want to hire in the beginning like a high-paid engineer. So with my apprenticeship, it was actually a good knowledge. So they organized everything. Yeah. 1 year there was an amazing private life, but the security level was pretty low in the company, so I wasn't allowed to leave actually the laboratory or the quality control. It was crazy, the company was built. The Greeks built one building and fix everything. Then I figured out, we're growing so fast, we need another building. And but they don't think in 20 years; they just think in years. Let's say.
Right. Okay.
So company was massive but totally chaotic, and in the company was driving around a lot of minivans and transport the engineers and the technicians so they don't have to walk because it was so dangerous to walk. And all the people in the little vans had lost a finger, a hand, got liquid aluminum on the body. So the people, they didn't got fired or something. They take care of the, let's say, disabled is the wrong people, but the injured people.
Okay.
And so this is just to show how low the security level was. So I was always stuck in the laboratory in quality control, and I got bored. I was used of with the companies I worked before that I can work with the workers. As a quality control, you have to understand how the production works, and it's not just getting a sample, test it, and say, hey, it's good or bad. So I got bored after 1 year. Then I got a job offer from the competitor company. So I was 6 years head of the department,
right,
of the quality department. And when I came back from Greece, I started going to the gym and started running. So when I came back, I continued running. But in 2005, I know that a lot of people around me have heard this story many times, but this is just how it is.
Yeah, it's here.
So in 2005, I was training for the Cologne Marathon, and then my knee started hurting. Went to the first doctor. He just gave me an injection behind the knee, inside the knee with a long needle.
Yeah.
I told him, okay, hey, it's fixed now. Oh no, just come back when it hurts again, and I'll give you another one. I said, fuck, that's not what I expected, And then I went to another doctor, and he also, there was no real solution for it. And so it was super close that I bought a road bike, just to have endurance feeling, when you start running, and after an hour, you just continue running. And I wanted to have this feeling, and it was pretty close. And a friend showed me a mountain bike video, and then in 2005, I decided with a buddy, hey, let's start mountain biking. So I bought a Scott Nitrous 20. I'm not sure how to categorize this bike these days. It's not a real or mountain. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
And my buddy bought a Kona Coil Air.
Right.
So and there are funny videos. I can send you a link later.
Send them over.
Started riding bikes, and I started building the first little trails.
Right.
I did the first. My buddy had a little. It's also in our scene. Everybody knows about it. My buddy had a big, not a big crash. It's on video. We put a video together, and he put it in. Okay. So it was a little kicker in front of the left hand before left hand berm. I did it first. Went over the bars. Did a little front flip in the bushes. He haven't done the front flip. He was just like sitting on his ass, jumping in the bushes, and he came out and he had a 6 in diameter, 6 centimeter, old wooden stick in his ass. So it was. You can see it in this video. It's the space between your butthole and your dick. The
gooch.
Yeah, the gooch. It went in there, and he came out, and he held it like, Boris, I think it's stuck in me. Can you feel it? And I touched it, and it was stuck. You couldn't even move it.
Holy shit!
And we had to call the ambulance, and you can't pull it out, otherwise, you can die. So he went to the ambulance car, was waiting at outside the trails on the road, and he was like, "Oh, do you think I can go back home?" I said, "I think it will take a bit longer." So we went to the hospital, and they had to. Now it's getting worse. Actually, they had to call the firefighters because the stick was too long to put him in the MRT. Is it MRT?
I don't know. In the bed or
not X-ray. The other thing is this tube where you have to.
Oh man. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's
you know what I mean.
So I know what you mean. Sorry, mind blank.
It was too long, so they had to call the firefighters to come to the hospital with the hydraulic scissor because they couldn't use a saw or something. And then and the next thing was the doctors asked if they can take pictures of it for the books, for the learning books, because they've never seen something like this before. And he was super, super lucky. It was 6 centimeters diameter.
Yeah.
And they have expected the worst. There was so much stuff going on down there. But it was like an old stick. It was green. It was
almost dead.
Past everything.
Really?
So he just had a massive hole.
2 assholes.
Yes. And he had to sit. Björn, I'm sure you will listen to it. Sorry that I have to tell the story.
Oh, it's amazing.
So he was just sitting for 3 weeks on a, like a
rubber ring or something.
Yeah, a rubber ring, exactly.
So after seeing your mate get designated a new asshole, you were hooked on the sport.
I was hooked the whole time. He stopped riding afterwards. I don't know why, but so
you became a bowling ball instead.
It's a 2-hole or 3-hole.
You can probably make a third.
Maybe he didn't want to have the third one. This is why he stopped. So, but I was still hooked, and I started racing in 2006. Did my first race, crashed for sure. I got my first little co-sponsoring with Last Bikes. It's a little German brand, also based in Dortmund. Yeah, they actually. I think there are some Last Bikes in the UK.
I had a Last Bike. Really? I can't remember the model of it. Yeah, it was. It was orange, a hardtail.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's cool. So,
going back a long time.
If Jörg Heid is the owner, or one of the owners, and he's a good friend, so Jörg, if you hear this, cheers.
Props.
So I did 2007 on... so do you want to hear, is it still part of, my racing, how I got into the what I'm doing now?
Yeah.
So I have just actually it's parallel. This is my riding stuff. So and the work stuff has also changed a little bit.
Okay.
But did racing. I started racing national races, the IXS Cup in Germany, 2007, 2008 or 2007. I met a buddy who was racing for Giant Germany, Orlando, and we started. When we started riding bikes together, my buddy was a whole hole in his ass, second asshole. He bought a video camera and I bought a photo camera. So just because we thought it's part of it, so he was filming, I was taking pictures, and I met Orlando while I was taking pictures at some dirt jumps just for fun, and then we figured out that we work pretty well to build trails stoned. So we built a lot of trails in our area here, and he hooked me up with Giant Glory, with some giant race gear. So I looked like a Giant Germany team racer. Yeah, but I was just doing the free man category.
Okay.
But I was more used. I had the name FCB, First Corner Boris, because I crashed so many times in the first corner because I was way too excited.
Better than two assholes or whatever it is your mate's called.
Yes. That's right. So 2009, I was and I always I'm still am a big Sam Hill fan. And I got the chance. There was one Austrian guy who was selling all the old stuff from Sam. Even there's a kid in Germany who still has this polished World Champs frame, and he's racing it sometimes in Germany.
Oh, wow.
You remember the one?
I remember the one. Yeah.
And
was it an iron horse or no?
Yeah, the polished iron horse.
Yeah.
And I got the main frame of the Iron Horse from the team frame, and the Iron Horse was still live back in the day, so I called them in America and got for €260 I got the rear triangle with a link, and so I had unfortunately I sold it a couple of years ago, and otherwise it would be on the wall now.
Yeah.
So 2009, and also I tried to I got a license, so I tried to race elite category. But as always, I ended most of the races with dirt on me or with scratches and all this stuff. So actually, in 2007 at German Championships, I crashed on the finish line. It was in Ilmenau, and there was like a jump into a ski chute. And I came sideways, landed sideways, and I have pictures of it passing the finish line. The finish line without my bike. So I'm in the air, my bike's in the air.
What?
2008 German Championships. It was in Tabatz, Thale. No, Tabatz, sorry, in East Germany, and they decided to put a 10-meter double in the bottom, and before the finish line they had a 2-meter double. So you had a 2.5-minute track, and on the grass you had to pedal so hard to get the 10-meter double. I had problems doing it, I haven't tried it in training. I haven't tried it in quali, and I told my buddies, I will have a good race run. I will just try it.
Yeah.
I tried it. Haven't made it. My a half meter was missing, so my rear tire touched the land. I had a massive crash, landed in front of the spectators, 2 meters away from the finish line, broke my collarbone.
Oh.
This is how most of I haven't luckily I haven't had a lot of broken bones, but my most races ended like this. So
end up in a crash.
Yeah, and I was still working, and was still working for the aluminum industry for the company as the head of the quality department. It was just 13 guys. So and then I got at this time also, I think in 2010, in the beginning or end of 2009, beginning of 2010, I got a job offer from the main company with 1,200 people, and they wanted me as the assistant quality control manager, and from 30 to 1,200 people. But it was shit. Before I knew it was a good feeling, good atmosphere in the company. Then in the other company, it was horrible. I hated it. And luckily, have you heard about the Dirt Masters Festival in Winterberg?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's organized by our magazine, or the magazine I was working for.
Okay. And
in 2010, I had problems with my license, so I couldn't race. So I was drunk for 4 days. And on the last day, there was a big freestyle motocross show, and I was just hanging out there. And the owner of the magazine, Frank came to me and like, Boris, I heard you have a boring job in the industry. You want to work for us? I said, oh, fuck yeah. So I went back. I was actually the job in the main company was pretty high paid. I had an unlimited contract with retiree money involved and all this stuff, which is even for Germany is something special. So I went back the next day and told them, hey, I want to quit the job. So they were like, what? Are you drugs or something? So no one could believe that. It never happened before. Actually, in this area, they are just the big kind of like Ford and all this stuff. So in this area, it's a pretty. It's near Düsseldorf. It's 60 kilometers away from here. They don't have these like big houses where you rent. Everybody has single houses. With even the shoplifter driver drives a new BMW because they pay so well.
Really. It's literally a job for life for most people. They start there and they just never leave.
Yes, exactly. For a German, I just can talk about the Germans, but for a German, it's a typical job that German wants. Unlimited contract, so they will never kick you out because it's too expensive for a company. So if you don't steal or you don't be drunk, even if you're drunk in Germany, it says you are ill, so they have to pay you a therapy before they can kick you out.
Okay.
It's true. It's German law. If you have I don't have an alcoholic problem, but if you have in Germany, the company is not allowed to kick you out. They have to offer you help. So if you get a job like this in Germany, I think 99.99% of the people would never quit it. I did it, and they couldn't believe it. And then I started working for the magazine.
And was that an editorial role?
Yeah. It's
and Frank never asked you if you could write?
No.
He just said, do you want the job?
Yeah, he kind of, I had this with Sven. I think it's something like lost in translation it's redakteur, and when you translate it to English, it's editor. But Sven says the editor is like the main guy and the main editor, but I did editorial work for the magazine. So I did testing, press cams, wrote stories, did interviews and all this stuff, but it's the German translation for it is editor. But I think what you think is an editor is like in Germany it's chief editor.
Okay. So there's different stages of the same thing almost.
Yeah. So the chief editor Martin was a friend, a writing buddy from me before. So I went for fun on something before I was working for the magazine. Just for fun, I joined him for 2 trips. Did interviews just for fun. So I didn't get paid for it. There was no plan, but I like to talk to people, and he was maybe a bit more shy. So I did it, and so the boss knew that I kind of work for the scene, or that that's easy for me to communicate with people, and so there was never a question if I've never written a story before, so I had no idea if it will work out for me. So I quit a job for like a typical German job, for which would work, which I can get old with. To try something new without, it was also a freelance job before everything was paid, like tax was paid, insurance was paid, and the magazine job was a freelance job. So I had to take care of all the stuff by myself. A couple of years later, I got bad papers from the tax government. I had to, they wanted 20,000 euro from me because I haven't done my papers properly.
Okay.
It ended up with a 4,000 euro fine. But when you open a letter from the tax department and they said, hey, we calculate that you haven't paid 20,000 euro in less, and it was like, fuck,
Shit.
it's done.
Just trying to scare you.
Kind of, but luckily a tax guy checked everything, and I ended up with I had to pay back 4,500, so it was okay. So yeah, did 4 years with the magazine, and this is how I became, let's say, a World Cup photographer. I think it was in the end of 2011 in Vallisol. I met Sven, the Parkins, Brandon, PD, and all the guys in 2010 at the Mega Avalanche. It was my first official magazine trip. They released, it was a press camp for the Reverb and the 1x10 drivetrain. So they've sent me to the Mega Avalanche. I never did it before. I never rode enduro these days. I was downhill rider. And
enduro.
Yeah, it was actually crazy when you think about it now.
Yeah.
So I got this last bike, Jörg Haidt, the last one, gave me a frame, so SRAM have built up for me. And so there I was an editor. Let's stay with the editor thing. And met Sven, Parkins, everybody was there. And then I also, when I started the work with the magazine, they told me if you do a story or if you need some pictures, I got a list of photographers to contact. And I liked Sven's pick then. I still like them. It's a role model for me.
Yeah.
So I contacted Sven for pictures, and I had the idea because I knew that how he's doing it is a bit how he's doing the work at the World Cups is different. And I went to Leogang just to take pictures by myself. I told it's also sorry if it's a bit chaotic how I'm telling it because it comes back. So same year, 2011, I told my boss, hey, I need the company car. I want to go to Leogang to take pictures at the World Cup. And I had no accommodation, no money, just the company car and some gas money. Called a buddy. He was later the team manager of our Bulls team with Spin Masters. It's also how he got the job. I called him, hey, what are you doing? Oh, nothing. Yeah, I want you to be our team manager from our Bulls team. So we went in 2011 to Leogang. I've never been there, so we were driving around, and there's like, oh look, there are the pits. So let's stop. So we stopped, and the first guy we met is Erik Irmisch, the German Steve Peat. It's a German riding racing for YT now, and when you see, got the name, I think 2006 in Rotorua, and he really looks like Steve Peat just in a younger. Super cool dude. Is the best if you need a photo rider. After 5 times doing a jump or something, he said, "Fuck yeah, Eric! It's the best, sickest whip shot ever." And he said, "Box Bruder." It means like box brother. I can do it better. I will do it again. 5 times later, Eric, it can't get better. Oh, come on, give me another try.
Really?
And it's been 20 times. So he's the most motivated guy ever. I love him. So and he was talking to Ben Reed. So I met Ben Reed. Actually, was the first World Cup rider I met at a World Cup. Not at a press camp. So the first ever guy I met at the World Cup was Ben Reed and Erik Irmisch. And Erik was like, "Hey, where are you staying?" I said, "No idea." "Oh yeah, we have space on our sofa, so you can stay with us." And there was actually also a funny stay because the dishwasher, they were like, "Oh, how to do the dishwasher?" So one guy put the sandy stuff to clean plates and stuff, which is a bit like sandy. He put it in the dishwasher.
Oh no!
I was like, "Fuck you! You can't do this. You have to do the shampoo." So he put shampoo from for your body inside. That was a pretty special stay with these guys.
So, like a phone party.
That was. So then I met Sven in person the first time, and there I noticed that he's doing the job differently. So he had so many impacts or influence on the riders. So I think it was Nigel Page back in the days there when Matti Leekun was still on the team.
Yeah.
I stood next to Sven when he came over. I was like, "Hey, could you please maybe talk to Matti and give him some props about his lines?" So it's just the mental side, they really trust him, and he's not just a photographer. He's so involved in all these things, like line choices. And then the same happened. I think Marc Beaumont was on GT there then, and I think it was Marc's father. I'm not sure, but also he asked me, "Hey, could you maybe talk to I think this was maybe later in Val d'Isère because he won there before. But as I noticed he's doing the work different. He's doing the job different, and it's not just a side person. He's part of
involved.
Yeah, he's a part of the scene, and it's not just a job; it's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I was pretty stoked about this. I will not talk about the after party in Leogang. It was also a bit special, but not the official. So if Mitch Delves, I'm not sure if he's still into mountain bikes, but if you listen, Mitch, you will remember how we end.
Oh my!
At the Leogang party.
I think you need to say. I think you have to, man. You've called it out.
Now we.
We can just hit the bullet points, just the short version.
Can you peep? Yeah, but the short version is actually it was a crazy after party. There is a little bar which next to the gondola, and it's always packed. So glasses were flying. Cedric was jumping from the like little stage because it was so tight. You could stage dive just if you jump into the people.
Right.
And at one point, we finished. We went out, and we took the car key of Eric. We thought we had his car keys, but then he jumped in the other car and just drove away. So, and then my buddy, he couldn't drink because he had no money with him. So I was drunk. The company car was full of people, so we had to drop off Sandale and some girls and all the. But then we left with Mitch Delves, him and I, and Mitch had I'm not sure. You decide later if you beep it out. So we end up in front of a whorehouse. I've never been in there before. So we went in, and I really thought, because I had no money, my shirt was ripped. I just had a hoodie, an open hoodie, was naked underneath. So we're sitting on this bar, and Mitch was talking with the owner of this whorehouse about race horses, and the guy was like, "Dude, your Australian friend knows that it's not a normal bar." And I will leave it like this. So I will leave it like this.
All right, that's pretty good.
And, yeah, so I met Sven. Then I decided to do a story about Sven in Val d'Isère at the end of the year. So it was called One Man Army because, as I remember right, it wasn't like now we have the media squids. Now it's got Joe and Mono and Duncan are not longer there. But in the last 3-4 years, it was the media, the group of photographers and filmers traveling together, working together. Even spend time in the off season together. So, but back in the days, it was more like. Every photographer was working for himself, and I followed Sven the whole weekend. So I did like a time schedule timeline. I followed him, wrote down 7:30 meeting in the bottom, 8 o'clock in the gondola, 8:10 we got a radio call like PD and Gregor in the gondola. So we started running down the track. So I wrote everything down. And on the last day, he asked me, "Hey," so I was actually taking pictures of him taking pictures. So I haven't shot action; I was just shooting him working. And on the last day, he asked me in finals, "Hey Boris, you want to help me shooting the finals?" And I said, "Yeah, why not?" So he gave me one of his cameras, and I helped him shooting the race. And we have never really talked about it, but we just never stopped. So since then. In 2012, I did the European races. Was no money, so I was a buddy from another company took me in the back of his van to the races. I slept in the back of a trailer, just on the floor. So I had no money for food, so I was just eating press room food and Fort Williams a soup. So I was pretty hungry a lot of time, but just stoked to be there and be so close to the races. The 1D Mark IV of Sven with his 300 on. So I was just next to him, I got the close-ups. And that was actually my start of shooting the races. And I think because, also the workflow was a bit different. So I just shot the whole day, put all the memory cards on Sven's table, and I could go to the after party. So this is how I met most of the riders. They knew that I'm just there for the passion. I didn't pay for it. I just loved to be at the races and being so close to the action. And then we had I started 2012 also a little German nuke-proof magazine team, a magazine team on nuke-proof bikes with two of my friends. So, and then out of this grew the Bulls team. So the magazine got a deal with Bulls. So we had Win Masters on the team.
Right.
And for the next 3 years, I didn't got paid extra, but my traveling was paid. So I didn't have to sleep anymore on
in trailers and stuff.
Yeah, in trailers. And then I was able to travel 3 years with Duncan, Sven, Mono, Joe, and all the guys. And became a part of the scene, kind of. And then the team stopped. And last year I was back on the low budget life.
Okay.
So I got a little. I was shooting for FMD, for Tani, Tony, Seagrave. Sven helped me out with a lot of stuff.
And you're still at the magazine too. So you do were you doing all the coverage for the mountain bike for the German magazine too?
Exactly, that was my main job. So I just saw that this traveling was just a bonus. I had a monthly deadline, so it doesn't matter if I was on the road flying or something. I always had to finish my part of the magazine, and I think it was a bonus for the magazine that I was so passionate about it, because it's pretty. They couldn't pay someone to go there. Otherwise, if I wouldn't be that, let's say, crazy or weird to do it, for the love of it. Maybe we just had to buy pics of a photographer, and I had to watch the live stream. I had to write a story out of this, but I wanted to be in the dirt, in the dust, in the rain, in the sun, next to the track. So it was a bonus for the magazine, a bonus for me not to stay 4 weeks, a month in the office. Mm-hmm. So. And then 2016 back on the low budget life. When I told after Lourdes, last year Lourdes was the opener and Cairns was afterwards, I told Sven that I can't afford the ticket to Australia, and he had the idea to do a crowdfunding page.
Oh,
I was a bit of ashamed of it, because when I would have never thought about it, but he told everybody that we will do it, but he didn't have the time to set up the page. So everyone was asking, "Hey Boris, where can we put some money in?" I said, "No, there's no page." And Rachel also said, "Hey, if I win, you will get half of my prize money." And she won, and she really paid half of the half of my ticket to Australia. Sven paid the other half, so we booked my ticket on Sunday night after finals in the media room, and I was ready to fly to Australia the week after.
Sweet.
And so I got so much help, it's unbelievable. It's so many of the riders became really good friends, and also it's not, sometimes you think, okay, I can give them coverage, so maybe they are nice to me. Some of the coolest dudes or the good friends there have never got a single page, not because I didn't want to, just never happened. So it's easy to think like, oh yeah, for sure they talk to Boris because they want to have a page in the magazine, but I never got asked, like, Boris, let's do something. I think it's, just because we're friends.
Yeah.
And I feel home there. It's I don't know why. Maybe because it's really like it's when they see that someone is really loving it, and doesn't matter how he goes there, he just want to be there. I think they maybe appreciate it.
It sounds like you've made some amazing friends, and obviously a lot of people really respect you for what you did in the early years, or even last year, I guess. And I think that means a lot. Sometimes you've got to go to the bottom and then work your way up. It's a good thing, right?
I hope so. Yeah. I think it's when it's too easy, you don't appreciate what you're doing. Saying I think I'm doing it for so many years now, and all the years I'm doing it, there were a lot of super talented photographers, but when you can start with a camera bag full of gear and maybe your flights are covered and all this stuff. You're doing it because you can.
Yeah, some people don't even enjoy it when all the chips aren't against you. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes you really need the pressure of it. You need rent to pay or whatever, and you need to make it happen.
Exactly.
I agree with you totally. Yeah.
But also, if you don't have to, but also on the other hand, when you don't have to think about all this, when it's kind of easier for you to do it. And then you figured out, you can do it. You deliver amazing work, and you figure out, fuck, it's a lot of work. And when you can start something easy, I think it's also easy to quit something.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's
totally.
But when you work so many years for it to make it happen, you will never think like, oh, it just can get better. Now, this season, I can make a little living out of it, so I can buy flights. Sven will love it. He's calling me now big time Boris just because I said like, hey, I can afford now my own food and I want to go for the €5 more expensive burger. He's like, oh yeah, big time Boris. Like, I lived 5 years. I was on such a limit, such a low budget. So now it's just like, even if it's maybe I should. I'm not throwing the money, but
you got to enjoy it now. Like you've worked your ass off to get where you are right now, and now you need to maybe buy 1 or 2 first class tickets and maybe some.
No, spend my money. But let's keep it with the burger. So if there is a cheap burger and a burger which costs €5 more, I will go for the expensive burger. That's me big time when I'm
living the dream, dude. Living the dream.
So it took a bit longer now. I hope I haven't talked too much about
not at all.
stuff.
That was really cool.
I think it was most how I got into it, and also I can't thank all, especially Sven, but all the other guys not enough because we never talked about it like, hey, we show you how it works. It just happened. Last year, Sven told me, because I asked him why he actually picked me or why it happened. He told me something like, you can learn photography, but you can't learn passion.
Yeah.
And I think this was the point of it. And without knowing, I think I went through some kind of Sven Martin school of photography, which is not just the work on the track, but the whole thing. And because I was working, he says we work together. I think because it felt for me like he hates it when I said he was my boss, but I delivered. I was working for him, so the whole time when the Evertons were coming, all his clients were coming, I saw it. I saw them as my clients. So when I knew like, oh man, is the next guy in the finals run, I got nervous. And this happened to for so many people. So I was used of. I got asked, for example, in Lourdes if it's different now for me, if I'm getting more nervous. I told them actually not. It's because all the years it felt like I have clients, because Sven was my Sven was my client. All his clients were my clients, and I wanted to deliver. I never said I could take it easy, but it's not how I work. I need missions, and if you. I also say, and I'm like a dog. If you throw a stick, I will bring it back. And I really need missions. And not on the soft part. Like if you want to take a picture, it's like, fuck you, Boris, get the shot. Yeah. And then I will be there, and I will run up the hill to get the shot. And so thanks to this, I'm feeling pretty confident and able to deliver even for big clients. Work, because the whole workflow is just not getting the picture, is also doing the whole not the editing part, but sending every night and being awake, don't get much sleep, the whole thing. What makes a World Cup photographer, I kind of learned from Sven. And so without this, I think I wouldn't be in the situation to have the clients I have now.
Awesome. So out of interest then, who are you working for right now?
My biggest client is Kenyan.
Right.
So, and I also have to say, I haven't sent a single email to a company or to a team or something. They contact me.
That's good.
And I'm not sure if it's normal, but it's not how, because there are not many teams, there are not many brands, if you see it compared to other sports maybe. Yeah. And all the teams and my friends, the other photographers covering the races for all these teams and brands. So it was far away from me to contact a team or brand when I know that my friends are doing it.
Yeah, so, you'd be trying to undercut your friends. That's cool. Yeah.
I would never ever do this. I think it's the worst thing what can happen, I want to keep them as my friends, and I'm not a money,
Yeah, you're not motivated by the money. You're motivated by the sport and the friends and stuff like that.
For sure, it's good to make a living out of it, but I'm not wearing a watch or not expensive stuff. I'm wearing I got this shirt as at the press camp. I got this shirt in Rotorua.
Yeah.
Socks are press camp socks from RockShox.
Got no underwear on. This is pretty tough.
No, it's H&M, not Mons. I was allowed to pick some stuff from Montreal in Rotorua, and I'm pretty stoked about this stuff. And I'm not getting paid for this to say this. No, but seriously, for me, it's something important that they contact me. So it was just a progress, a process that it has to be happened. But also one thing was, I think a lot of people always thought I'm just working for the magazine. So because there were now these days a lot of German teams, or brands like Propane, Cube, Canyon, and some others. So, but when I talked to them, it's like, oh, we didn't know that you are able, that you're free, or it is possible for you to also shoot as for the teams.
Right.
And but I want to say I'm a bit proud of it that I didn't. It was never necessary for me to steal. Let's say steal the jobs from my friends.
That's a really good way of going around it. It's very admirable.
Yes, I think I would feel bad if I would just undercut the price and all this stuff. So in the next race I will sit next to him with this in my head, like this is not how it works for me. No. And Canyon is my biggest client. They contacted me last year, on Facebook. I got a message from I knew the team manager. Unfortunately, he died a couple of weeks ago when we were in Rotorua.
Oh.
And it's a pretty sad story on a blood infection. But actually, before we have never met. We weren't kind of friends, but we met each other. We knew each other from the events. And so he got a message like, "Hey Boris, do you want to send us an offer? How much it was cost to cover the events for our team?" And he also asked. I knew that he also asked a lot of other photographers. And I don't want to say I'm not cheap. I made I'm in contact with photographers, so we have all the same price. So no one is really like doing it for the half price.
Okay.
And I'm getting a proper, like all the other photographers. I'm getting paid like all the other photographers, not just like, hey, it's Boris. He's cheap. Let's take him.
You're cheap forever. That's the...
Yeah. And so I'm getting the same money like all the other photographers. And so and then it's it's Kona also.
Okay.
Kona. I just sent pictures and now it feels like
it's okay. One of the things I was going to ask you is how the jobs sort of come in, but you've just answered that anyway. I didn't know if it was you have to go through like a proposal stage or anything like that and really sort of sell yourself. But the cool thing is you're not having to do that. Like people are coming to you, which is rad. Like that's the perfect situation you want to be in when you have a business. You want people to just kind of come to you and they want to work with you. You're not having to sell yourself short or anything like that. It's perfect.
I think with the other clients, it's like also Pivot. Cheers, Bernard. and now seven protection. But I got because Duncan left the scene, so there were some free spots. And actually, the plan was to separate, to split it with Dan Heron. He's new on the scene, but. Also the same thing. I could maybe say like, hey, I will try to get all Duncan's clients, but it's better to make it possible for two of us than me getting a bit more. So we had the idea like Dan tried to get some of Duncan's ex-clients, and I got some. So I was lucky with Kona and Pivot. I know Bernard for a lot of years since I'm doing the job. So thanks to Duncan also that not that he left, I would prefer to have him there.
Yeah, but when he said he was going, you were a little bit like, yes.
No.
Good riddance, Dunk.
It was the first race without these guys, and we missed them. But I don't want to say, but. It worked, there was enough shit talk going around, and even without them, But I was used of always making fun about my pronunciation. And now you haven't laughed, I haven't said smoothie.
Smoothie.
It's an insight. I can't say it proper. So Mono was always giving me shit for it. Now we have a new one. Sven will love it that I mentioned it here. So I told him maybe I should go to the dentist because my teeth meet.
Your what?
I just learned this gum.
Yeah.
you know, and
but teeth meat is way better. Like everyone should call it teeth meat for sure.
In Germany, it's Zahnfleisch, and the Zahn or Zähne sind the teeth, and Fleisch is meat. So for me, it's just like teeth meat. And Sven was like, "What?" And now, you know, but so actually. I thought it's getting a bit less. Just you know, like usually it's Joe who's calling me the mountain German, the Austrian, even from Germany. Duncan never gave me so much shit. So thanks,
Duncan's too nice.
Yeah, super nice, and he helped me always. You know, he made me even actually a video tutorial to work on Lightroom. I was always working with photo mechanic and Photoshop before.
Right.
I was sitting down the whole winter to get use of Lightroom to get quicker, because Duncan was always the first one finished. You know, while I was still sitting there editing, and so Duncan was like, "Oh, guys, I will go for dinner, and I come back when you're ready for the vital slideshow." I was like, "Fuck."
What?
Yeah. So, and then I had a question, and I got a video of him explaining everything. So he made a YouTube video for me to explain how Lightroom works. Yeah. No, but I definitely missed them. But I still am getting enough shit for stuff for the stuff that I'm doing, and yeah. Usually it was also that I was never prepared, but after 6 years now I got some sick hiking boots for 510 hiking boots.
I saw those. Yeah.
Yeah. So the times they are changing, and now but Dan, Sven, Fraser, and Ale, I still get enough shit. So from this,
you're still getting your fix of shit talk.
Yeah.
How did you learn English though? Have you always learned it in school? Is it a German thing?
I would learn it in school, but you know, as I said, back in the days, I was more interested in partying.
Yeah.
So when I had got the information that I would have an interview in Greece, I said, "Fuck, I just have school English," and it was just very basic. And so I wrote down some of the questions that I thought I would get asked, and translated it before. So he was sitting in an interview, I said, "Fuck, what is he asking?" So I really had a paper in my pocket with some typical job questions, because some of the jobs, some of the words or some of the stuff was pretty technical. So I thought about to translate it before. Okay,
yeah.
And but the funny thing was when the boss was always busy, so at the end he said, "Hey, let's go with everybody for dinner." So my job interview was in a fish restaurant, and all the head of the department, the head of the departments, the boss, everybody had invited their wives, and they haven't asked me a single question for my paper. It was more like they told me later they knew my CV and also the knowledge of what this apprenticeship includes.
Yeah.
It was more like knowing me personally. When they hire a young 20-year-old guy, if he's just a typical German, you know, with a stick in his ass and giving advices to the workers.
Stick in his gooch, you mean?
Yeah.
Man,
sorry,
you left that one wide open.
I'll show you the video later. So they just asked me, you know, about my family, about my brothers and sisters, if my personality suits them, or if I'm so strict and, you know, like, or if, you know, it was more a personal thing. Yeah. So, and then I moved to Greece, and so I never learned, you know, I can just say, you know, like, venk sero italinica kala, venk catalaveno. It means perfect. Like, I can't understand you. My Greek is pretty bad.
Okay.
Some easy stuff, because most of the Greeks, it's when you want to have a bit not a higher job, even if you don't want to work in a restaurant, when you want to have a job, and it's a different school system.
Right. Okay.
They don't have apprenticeships, so right. It's just like school, and then like a 2-year like high school or something. I don't know how it is. And then there is a big gap to the university. They have big universities, so they have a lot of engineers, right. But the work in between is different. So if you want to have like a normal job in the office or in a company without, you don't get asked if you speak English. It's normal. You have to
speak English. Right.
They ask for your second language. So everybody was pretty stoked and happy that they can try their English skills on me. So, but you know, it was just talking. I'm just used to it. And I think the biggest problem for Germans are for a lot of people, they translate it in their head before. So I'm speaking way faster than I can think. even in German, you know.
Yeah.
This is why I talk, you know, when you're going for a first date and you know, fettnäpfchen, I don't know the English word for it. When you say something, later you think, fuck, you shouldn't have said this. Typically, you know, I don't have an example now, but I think this is the biggest problem. I just talk, and I don't have to think about it before. It just comes out of my mouth, and this is why the most people, I know a lot of Germans, they are like, oh, they feel uncomfortable because they try to translate it before, to say it proper, to say it right. I know I'm sure when I listen to the podcast later, if I would listen to it later, I know it's hard to hear your own voice. So I would hear all the timing mistakes, you know, like the past, future, you know.
The tense and stuff like that,
the tenses. So, but if you forget about it and you just want to keep the conversation going, I think it's the best way to do it. So this is how
I think it's amazing. It's really good. I tried learning Swedish for a little while and can't do it.
But luckily, I hate it when people say, "Oh yeah." A lot of times I tell people it's okay to correct me if I'm doing big mistakes. Sven is doing it, but most of the time about my pronunciation. Also on, I say closes, not close.
Okay, it doesn't matter though. Who cares?
Yeah, but you know, this is a constant. It's a running gag now.
Okay.
So we had at Lourdes, loyalty.
Legality.
Loyalty.
Loyalty.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Germany, it's Loyalität. And when you translate this, it sounds more like loyalty, not loyalty.
Okay.
Loyalität. So in Germany, we have one part more.
Yeah.
And this is how I translate stuff. So it's like how it works, how stuff works for me. So this is a lot of stuff is going on, and is always there for a lot of jokes with my English. This is just talking. I like to talk. I'm not afraid to talk in front of people. I'm doing the commentary of the whip-offs in Germany. Totally really? Drunk. Sick. I think I was the most drunk commentator ever. I throwed up in front of all the kids, but it was really because of a sunstroke. I wasn't wearing my Bass Pro Shop hat.
Oh no.
First year I was dressed as a bunny. The second year I was dressed as a soccer referee.
Right.
So I couldn't put my hat on. And seriously, you see me on pictures. One picture is shouting, for the crowd. And the next picture, when the rider is gone, I was holding my head because I got a headache so bad. And when after the prize giving ceremony, there were 5,000 kids or people, and I was sitting in the bushes throwing up, and everybody was coming. And it was fun for them, not so much fun for me. But
sunstroke's a bitch, dude. It's horrible. It's the worst.
Oh, yes. And so I'm just, I'm not doing live stream commentary of the IXS Cup and Leo Gang, and also at the Dirt Masters doing on the track commentary.
Oh right, okay.
Above did videos and all this stuff. So I'm just don't know. I don't know how to call it. I'm just not afraid. Do whatever I want, and
that's rad.
So I'm
really
not afraid to the idiot.
Has there been? I'm interested in. Has there been like a big change in your career so far? Like something maybe like winning, because you won Deep Summer at Road to Road, right? So has there been anything other than that which has been like a major shift in turning this from like being obviously a passion to an actual full-time job? No,
the biggest change is talking to you here now. You are the...
I thought so, mate. Everyone else says that too. It's crazy. Apparently this is like the milestone in a career. Like you get on this podcast and it's like, it's done deal. You can retire. All of the, all the sponsorship money will come in. And
exactly. Yeah. No, but I think the reaction, you are the biggest reaction on Deep Summer. It's talking to you here now is the biggest reaction on Deep Summer. I got a lot of props. There's a little actually going to Deep Summer. I wasn't sure because it was my first big event of the year with clients. So you have EWS, then 3 days actually for Deep Summer, and then all the other events start going. Right. And I wasn't sure to do it, but Kim, she's organizing it. She asks, she sent me such a nice mail, and I just couldn't say no. Seriously, I was like, oh my god, this is too nice to ask like this, and I was like, yeah, come on, let's do it. and because it's super hard, it's like it was constant. I was 1 month in New Zealand, first at Sven Place, then in Z Enduro of Sven and Anker, which was amazing. Then Bernard Kerr bought me a ticket to go to New Zealand, so I was shooting in the 4 weeks in New Zealand. I was shooting constantly 3.5 weeks actually, and I think I was the most unprepared deep summer photographer. I felt like I was the most unprepared deep summer photographer ever. Finished on Monday morning. There was a meeting for Deep Summer, and afterwards you were allowed to start shooting. I finished the editing of the EWS pictures on Sunday or Monday morning at 2:00. Went to the meeting at 8. Then I finished after the meeting. I finished the vital EWS slideshow with 10 to 12 o'clock. Then it's raining. Bernard Kerr, the flight was delayed, so.
Okay.
All had little ideas, but we did nothing of them. So I also see myself more as a document or stuff. I'm not the guy who's creating a shot. At races, I can't tell the guys, hey, could you please go this line because there is a nice light spot. So I have to make it happen. Or also at the pits, I'm not telling the guys, hey, smile at me, or could you please do this. So I have to be at the right time, the right spot to get this emotion, to get the perfect line. I have to work around. I think there are other photographers that are amazing with it, but they create it with flashes and all this stuff, and they have an idea for a shot and they make it happen. I think I can do it, when I'm going for. And I had a catalog shooting, but I still, you never know when you plan to have a sunrise, and there is no sunrise, you have to get something. So I think what I can do is adapt to a situation.
Stuff. Yeah.
So what you see on the slideshow actually just happened in front of my camera. This was also,
nothing staged. You just went down.
No, it's just what you see there. The building up the bikes or something. It was nothing like, can you build up the bikes for me for the camera? All what you see there just happened. So, and we had my scouting plan didn't work out because I got lost. What's written on my chest is not just fun. I really got lost in the woods. Luckily, I met a German enduro racer, Max Schumann. So instead of going scouting with one of my team riders, we went shooting and trying to get some shots for Evoque, I think.
Okay.
So I had no idea where to shoot, what to shoot, and just went out there. And luckily, Connor Hamilton is local. He knew all the spots and he was a big help. Bernard, Emily, and Rupert were super motivated. Rachel from Pivot helped a lot. So the whole thing, I was just shooting for 2 days because actually I wanted to, on Wednesday there was the whip-offs. There was in the Chedal there was whip-offs, so I wanted to finish everything to shoot for clients there. Luckily it was raining, so they skipped it to
postponed it, right? Yeah.
And so I had more time. Rob Parkin helped me a lot. And to be honest, before uploading the slideshow, he asked me, hey, what is the solution? No, not solution. Resolution for the video. And I was like, I have no idea. So let's open the contract. And there were rules inside. So I wrote the rules after shooting before uploading the slideshow. Okay. And Boris, you know that you have to upload also 3 iconic shots with a slideshow. I said, no idea. So it was iconic lake shot, iconic native woods, and I had to Google what native woods actually means now in Lourdes because still was like, fuck, well, you haven't put a shot of native woods. And I was like, what actually means native? I Googled it in Lourdes, and also I won the iconic lake shot, and
really?
my lake shot is actually a puddle.
Oh.
And with the slideshow, Sven and Duncan were 2 of the 4 judges, right. And I think it was not a bonus for me. What I think the other photographers maybe could think, but you have to think about if you are in their position, because people would think this.
Yeah, they think that you'll give them favoritism over everybody else.
So I think it was actually harder for me, and but. When I pressed the upload button, the slideshow was happy. Without Rob, without Rob, without the help of Rob, I would probably have filmed Photo Mechanic with skipping through my pictures with my phone from my computer display because I had no idea how to do it proper. But Rob helped a lot, and then I said I will never do it again. I was just happy to show something, so I wasn't really confident.
Yeah.
The judging was Thursday morning, and the screening was Thursday evening. So Sven knew the whole day who won and what was going on. And at first he was quiet, but I thought I could read his face or something. But he was really, it was hard. I couldn't read his face, and then he started giving me shit. But for me, it was like later the others told me, he gave me so much shit that they start thinking about that maybe I have won, but I took it very seriously. I felt bad because he was like, Boris, I know you can do better. Why have you choose this shot? Why this shot? Why are you missing this? What have you done there? I was like, really, fuck. I was just thinking, hopefully they don't say who is for the position, like from 1, 2, 3, third or something. Yeah. So no one knows that I got got last. And then the screening, the other guys had amazing shots. Some of them, for a double page for a magazine, they probably had more shots to choose. I heard later that maybe the story. I just try to show the feeling, what it is with riding with buddies in Rotorua, and I think this was kind of maybe my bonus. So I haven't tried to create something, and it was just real.
It was just happening. Let's say. Yeah. Well, for anyone who's not seen it, I'll post it as well. I was going to do it this afternoon actually, but
cool.
I just forgot. I'll be honest, I just forgot. And, this is not a very well-oiled machine, this podcast.
It's fine.
But I will post it because it's rad. It's really good. And, I really like Deep Summer. I think, I'm not 100% sure. Did Duncan win it? Or was it was just entered, right? And that was the cool thing, is that Duncan got an entry. He got like a wild card, I think.
Yeah.
And everyone who...
such a young age.
Exactly. He was really young. I think I'd only pretty much just met him, but everyone that he shot were just all like my really good friends. So I always keep a good eye on Deep Summer. It's a pretty cool contest. I think it's always good to see what people come out with,
It's amazing. But I would say when Duncan did it in Whistler, the level is way higher. To be honest, seriously, it's like I don't want to take it away from us, from the Rotorua guys, but all the, let's say, big names have done it in Whistler, and I think the level is a bit different. Maybe it's also the location, and it's tough.
That's cool.
I got the wildcard now for Whistler, but I have to say no. I have to send the girls an email now because it's. There is EWS again, but then there are no free days to shoot it. Okay. So I have to do client work, the dual speed and style on Monday, I think, whip off on Tuesday. So I have to shoot this.
Yeah.
And this is now what I have to do it. It's my job now. So I can't just because of Deep Summer. I would love to see the screen was big in Rotorua, but it's way bigger in Whistler. And I would just love to see my show on such a big screen and in front of so many people.
Yeah.
But no, I can't do it now.
There'll be a next time, dude.
Yeah, but about the winning, they showed the shows, then was this 3 iconic wins. So the other guys each won one category, and I got on the stage. I haven't expected. Then I said, "Hey, Boris, you won the iconic lake shot." I went on the stage, won this 300. I got the big shag with €300. I was super stoked. Haven't expected. I was on my way back to sit down, and they was like, "Hey, Maddog, I think you can come back up." And I was seriously, it doesn't happen a lot of times, but I was speechless and my knees were shaking.
No, right.
Yeah, because I wasn't prepared for it, and I got so much shit before, so I was in my head. It's so far away from this, and I was like, "Fuck," and I think I said fuck. They weren't stoked about it. I think we can say it here because we are in.
We can say whatever we want on this thing, man.
Americans, it was a bit different.
Yeah.
So Deep Summer, but the biggest reaction of it, I got a lot of props from friends and stuff. But when you contacted me afterwards, this is the coolest thing what happened out of Deep Summer.
No drama, man. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Cool. Right. Let's talk about this race a little bit, if that's all right.
Yeah.
I think it's cool. Because we've sort of got a new release date, which is a Tuesday evening, I kind of always want to get people's take on the race, if there has been a World Cup race. This one was crazy. It was mental. Starting off, obviously, with Santa Cruz kind of breaking the internet.
Yeah.
I sent Kathy a pretty funny email. I was like, "You came on the podcast, I asked you about all this stuff, and you never mentioned 29ers. She's like, "Nah, I really had to keep this one to myself."
I just listened I just rewatched the slideshows, and there was a Rob Roskop interview or audio, and he says this was the biggest thing for them. And imagine how hard it is. They were testing a thing in Portugal, and there must be people around, to hide it. Some of them, I think, I haven't even noticed it. because doesn't look too bad. Like everybody in the beginning was. The bikes look shit. I can imagine from a rider's perspective that you maybe don't want to ride one because it's different for you. But to be honest, now we saw the first 29 downhill bikes on a World Cup track, and Lourdes, Luca, and Greg were looking pinned and crazy like before. For me, from a photographer, Sven has an amazing whip shot of Lourdes, and you can't tell it doesn't look different. Really. It's not. I think it was, before 29ers, it's all the turning, what people said you can't turn it, it's all based on geometry. If you put so much effort in it to make a 29er work, it's possible. It's not just like that Greg is now cornering with the big wheels weird around the corners. They just made the bike that works with the geometry, and it's not that bad. It's not that they have to take it. It looks not rough enough or something. It's not like they're flying over the rocks. It's still tough to stay on the bike. Maybe the feeling for a rider is a bit different. Yeah. But from watching, I think you have watched the live stream. Was it looking different? Yeah. I think it's still cool to see.
The thing is, we didn't really get to see them ride them. Do you know what I mean? Like,
was too foggy.
It was because their run was so shit because of the rain. So you didn't really.
You mean the speed?
Yeah. What did Greg come down in maybe like 70th or what? You couldn't tell. I think looking at qualifying, it's obvious that they were going fast, but who's not to say? It's just such a weird race because you don't really come away from this race with anything, and we don't know anything. We don't know who was going fast really, apart from qualifying.
But isn't it cool?
Yes, amazing. This is how a racing should be, though, in some ways.
I think there is now a lot of stuff going on the internet. Have you seen Loic's comment yesterday?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, Loic fully called Red Bull out.
Yeah.
And I can see both sides of it. I think if they knew that the weather was coming in hard and it was going to hit around like the top 20, they should have shifted it back an hour or 40 minutes or whatever. But it's racing.
But imagine, I love Loic and how he sees the sport and everything, and that he's got the balls to write something or post something like this. Yeah. But one of the, for me, like most historical races was based on something like this, Champery. You remember, with Sam Hill, and when Matti said he was playing tactics because everybody knew that it will happen. Yeah. And I think the track, no one can say that the track was more suitable for bad weather. Because it was one of the steepest tracks they've ever been there. Yeah. So one of the most, for me, I would say still, it's one of the most historical races. Is it possible right to say it? Yeah. And happened. Imagine, Sam would just have won by 10 seconds because he was they put everything a bit earlier. So for me, also as a photographer, we had perfect weather before. Then we had a 10 degrees temperature drop, and I was freezing cold, and we were staying there for 1.5 hours in the rain. So I didn't need the rain for shooting. It would be fun to stay dry and stuff. Yeah. But from a race perspective, now everything is still open. So I had to chat with Laurent, Loic's team manager, later, and I told him, how was it? I was talking for me as a photographer, like shit. It was so wet. And it was so cold, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, but we could have, it's for us, it's a race, and for us, we could have been prepared for it, and all this stuff." So I think it should stay like this, if in Fort William they changed the qualifying ones because of heavy winds, so they couldn't run the gondola.
Right. Yeah, I remember.
Just for safety reasons, but this is something. If it's really dangerous, maybe they can't bring the riders to the top, or if there are thunder and lightning. I don't know. If it's getting dangerous, for sure, everybody could have crashed in the rain. But just because it was just a couple of riders, they could have been crashed. If everybody would have been in the rain, no one would say something like, "Oh, it was dangerous for us to go down the hill." Yeah. You know what I mean? Now some of them said, "Oh yeah, it was dangerous for us to go fast." If it would have been raining the whole day, no one would have said this. And I can imagine that you are a bit disappointed when you train the whole season and you want to race in front of your home crowd and all this stuff.
Yeah, and you can totally see that side of it.
And you have to think about the whole season. But I think the top guys who will at the end of the year fight around the with the overall. will be the same. All of them had this situation.
Yeah.
You know, it would be cool to see.
It's not like, I agree. It's just literally just shaking it up a little bit for the first round.
Yeah, exactly. And
So do you think all the other manufacturers are trying to put together a 29er for Fort William?
I've heard some stuff, and I think, but it's not just that they're doing it now. Maybe some companies which were still in the process about thinking about to do it will now maybe give it a go. But I think all the biggest companies have something in the pipeline. It's just about I think now it's also a lot of marketing plans. So like when it's the best time for them to do it. There was a lot of testing in Portugal with Fox, and when you follow some of the teams, you could see the 49. I think we'll definitely see more 29, especially in Fort William. The track is made, or they will have a big advantage out of the bigger wheels in Fort William.
Yeah.
So it's part of the game, and I liked something that Brandon Fairclough said in another podcast on Vital MTB.
Oh, the Vital one's really good.
Yeah.
Good.
And the one with Clay Porter, and he said, dude, now if everybody follows, the same happened from 26 to 27.5, we have the same race, just 3 seconds faster. So if everybody will be on 29er, now, you know, in the beginning you can play you are the guy who is maybe a bit faster than the others. But if everybody follows, everybody is a bit faster. For sure, maybe the smaller riders have to get used of it. You know, like when you're off the back.
Guys,
Yeah, and but think about it. He was absolutely right. You know, like it's for sure it's a progression of the sport.
Yep.
But if everybody's doing it, everybody's faster. So we'll have the same thing. And I'm not sure if it's for the kids, for us, riders. How do you call it? Sunday, weekend warriors. Yeah, but
I love that term. Dude. Always makes me smile.
when you can afford it, for sure. But on a German track, I'm not sure if you get when you're racing IXS or something, the IXS Cup, if it's necessary to be
That's going to be the cool thing all year, though, is seeing where the 29er works and where it doesn't. Because in some of the tighter technical tracks, it could be not as good. And again, it's racing there. Like you said, it's progression. It's things changing. It's fun. It's really good. I think you couldn't have written a better script for that in some respects. If you wanted to have the first race just be a total like head fuck for everybody, it was perfect.
Yeah. So I think. I know what I can imagine that Louis is angry about the whole situation, not just him, but if it would just maybe been the last 3 riders, and then it would be maybe a bit shit. But now it's like all the top 20 guys. The fight will be the same at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I think the thing is as well, Alex is it Faiola? You say his name, right? Yeah. His run was fucking pinned anyway. He was going to be. He's going to be up there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Not maybe on the podium, but
but he's going to be.
But it's part of when you're thinking back, like when Marc Beaumont won Vigo, it was a rain race. No one calling now Lurik out for complaining, but it happened so many times before.
Do you think sometimes it's maybe an oversight for the teams too? Do you think they could have had a better, a better understanding of what the weather was going to do on the next day, or not?
No, I think everybody knew what was going on.
Right.
So but
maybe they could have had a worse qualifying time to end up in the middle of the pack or something.
No, it doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work anymore because even if you are, I think, on the top 20 guys, they have the protected riders.
Yeah.
Even if you have if you're on the top 20 and you have a shit run, then you are 21st. They put you on the back of the protected riders, so you can't play the tactics anymore.
Make sure you're on the live stream and stuff too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like no tactics like this anymore. Maybe
that's a good thing though. Just it's racing. Get down there as fast as you can in every session, and that's it.
But with the, I think it would still be fun because you can risk also a lot if you play tactics. So I think this is definitely a live stream thing to have this rule. Like also what was new now, which I didn't like actually, was that the junior podium is now straight after the junior race. So usually you have the juniors, women, elite men, And after all the podiums, now actually, lucky I didn't have to shoot junior man.
Yeah.
You have to run down.
I was going to say, for a photographer, that's a nightmare.
Yeah. But also for the kids, Chaos Seagrave is a good buddy, my little bro.
Yeah.
He was rocking the best pro shop hat on the podium, which I was super stoked about. He was second. And imagine you're waiting so long to be up there, and then you got your first podium, World Cup podium, and there is no crowd.
True, yeah. Yeah, that's
you're waiting for, to celebrate with all the, all the photographers are there, the filmers, the biggest crowd, and now you have the first race in France, and no one is there. For sure there were a couple of photographers, maybe some people, but they are all up there walking up the track or down the track. And I think it's not, without this new rule, the whole race would have been in the try.
Mm. Yeah,
it was a long day. There was the podium break, then a long gap before the women start racing. So without this, everything would have been earlier. But I'm not so into politics in general, and also in this. It's just I can't change it. I know a lot of people have the voice for it, but I'm not when you look at my, let's say, Instagram, my social media, I'm not the guy who likes to complain or get angry about stuff.
There's no point a lot of the time, is there? But like you said, it's pretty big of Loic to call out Red Bull as well, like one of his main sponsors.
It's a big thing.
It's huge. Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the fuck, man?
But it's true. It's real talk. It's not just. I think it's coming from his heart when he says something like this, and he wants to. He's feeling better to say it instead of keeping quiet, and it burns inside. And. So I have big respect. He's one of the very good friends from the World Cup scene. So I have big respect for him.
Yeah.
And but we will see. But I have enough gray hair, as you can see here. So I don't want to get more gray hair before being angry about something.
Yeah, nobody can change, right? Pretty much. It's Mother Nature, and I got some shit before. From the last episode about not talking about the women's race, to be honest. A few people messaged, like, how come you didn't talk about the women's races? I was like...
Really?
Yeah. Which is... that's fine. It just wasn't... I don't know, I just didn't. It's one of those things. But obviously, Rachel smashed it. But one of the things that you may not have heard, because it was on the live stream, was Rob and Claudio saying that maybe she hit the brakes a little bit in qualifying to make sure she wasn't first. But again, I think that's pretty hard to... do. It's almost, if she did that, she'd almost know she's going to be fast enough, the fastest, and she's prepared to slow down a few seconds. I think that's impossible, personally.
I'm not sure. I think Rachel, there's a lot of stuff going on. When you listen to some of the audios, I think there was one also when she said that for her it was easier. Now everybody's just talking about this one more race to get beaten one time and start with a refresh.
Yeah.
And also she said something that she was ill before, then someone stole her shoes on finals day, and she had to wear shoes, actually seriously in the morning. Dan Brown was wearing Shimano shoes, too small Shimano shoes, and they were heating him up with the fan, with the heating, with the industrial heating fan to make them wider.
Really?
Yeah, because someone stole Rachel's shoes out of the pits, so I don't think she's always pushing hard, and it's different than to try to be slower or just to keep it a bit more easy.
Yes.
Like not attacking so much, but I don't think she would say, "Oh, I break more now here to be not on the podium."
Totally agree. I think Tani just straight up smashed quali. That's pretty much it.
I think it's Tani's. Tani will be up there, that's for sure. And I'm a good friend with the team. They got me a chance last year to prove that I can also work as a team photographer, and I'm there for so long now to see her coming closer and closer, and she's putting so much effort in it, and it's her dream, and she will be up there. It's amazing to see the progress, but also when you think about it, Rachel is building up her body and skills for so long. Yeah. I'm sure Rachel would beat me in arm wrestling easily. Tani is still young, but she also started very early. But give her, she just have to understand that everything takes time, and
definitely.
But I will be there when and screaming for her, cheering for her when she's will get her first win.
It's coming,
and
I think
it's definitely coming. I'm sure. But it's always interesting. Also, I think when you forget that Rachel has won so much. Miriam Nicole was also had a lot of injuries, but she's always everybody's fighting back or coming back. They're willing to do it, and some of them don't have it maybe that easy. Some of them have a real job. I think Miriam Nicole also she did study the last years. And so no, you can't take away they're working very hard to be there to do the same like the boys. And also some of the, when they're doing the jumps, I wouldn't jump all this stuff.
No way.
Seriously,
they are gnarly, those tracks.
You are just used of seeing like the fastest guys of the world, but you can't, imagine to see one of us next to them, and then you would notice how much faster they are. Yeah. It's easy to say like, oh, they look different on a bike and they don't go so fast, but imagine yourself there. Even if you wish you would ride like Loic or all the other guys, I think if you would see yourself on the live stream,
it's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, this is the thing, like just maybe if they're not going so crazy in the corners or something, but to ride so consistent with that speed and doing also the jumps and all this stuff and going through rock gardens. I got a sequence of Rachel nearly crashing, but she held. I would have tumbled. I would crashed so hard, but she holds.
First corner, Boris would have been down for sure.
Yeah, it was a bit lower, but it would have been a big, definitely a big crash.
Yeah,
and no, it's amazing to see them racing, and I'm putting the same effort, and I'm getting the same nervous or pumped when they're coming down, like the guys. So for me as a photographer, there's no difference.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you sort of came away from the race thinking that maybe a lot of people out there wouldn't necessarily know about, if that makes sense?
Oh, I think to start with Lourdes, the whole thing in Lourdes is like, how to start actually. It's the track was way rougher or faster and more gnarly than all the years before. Maybe it was because it was so dry. Last year's it was super cold and also rainy, so the track was a bit slower. They have done amazing changes. They took some of the berms out and went in open sections again. And I think this was a track need. There was one new section where you had 5 different lines.
Yeah.
And there are not many tracks that have these. When you go to Leogang, there are not many sections where you have so many options to race. So track wise, I think it was on the edge, and they went super quick. I remember also some other tracks or races when it took a bit time to go faster, but there it felt like first run, like boom, full gas.
Right.
And also, it was impressive. It's always impressive to watch Bernard Kerr. I think he's like, boom! He's so quick on not race speed, but it's pretty impressive to see the boys or everybody going fast on a track like this.
Yeah.
Then, pit wise, I think it's always cool. I love. To see it's not just interesting to see that my stories for the magazine. Most of them I wrote more about all the behind the scenes stuff, what was going on, because these days I got an angry email from a girl. She wrote that I'm a sexist and my World Cup reports are boring because I just write about all the other stuff. The sexist was because I wrote something. The caption was like, and here you see Sam Hill with his hot wife, and another one was about Bernard and Veronique when they visit home. And I also wrote something about the hot Veronique or something. She was like, I'm a sexist. And the other one was, but I wrote her email back and told her, like, if I just have sent her the link to the replay, because she was like, you're not writing about what's happening on finals day on the track. But this is a thing you can see online way better than I can explain it. So I was about, pit stuff, the sickest truck out there is a Specialized truck. They got a new paint job on it.
Oh yeah, Loic was talking about that. I think Loic designed it, and then the guy just didn't want to go with that one, and he just did his own. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure that's right. Yeah, Loic designed it. They had him working on it for like 2 or 3 weeks. he finished the design. He was really stoked on it, and then like the head designer just was like, "Nah, we're not using that one."
I know, but
That's funny.
The Specialized truck was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that were the little stuff like two Americans like Vanzaks without a van. To see people like this, like same like when I see myself in them, when they just want to do it, and I got a lot of requests also from Germany, like about photography, how I'm doing it. But the first question is how much money I'm earn, and if you start like this, there's no reason to answer it. Actually, this is the most thing you think about, and also from a racer. A lot of German kids want to have a sponsor before they're doing the first season, and some of the kids they just want to race. So that was pretty impressive to see. Also, you have to get, as a photographer, you get used of all the new race kits and all the changes. To be honest, all of us, we missed Greg Minar's first race run because he was in this ugly O'Neill outfit. Sorry, Greg, if you listen to it, or Kathy, but. Now wearing, you're used to him with his kind of signature Kabuto helmets.
Yeah,
and
grey and red.
Yeah, but now we had some fights with Fraser about it. Like he's like, "Oh, it's super cool." I said, "No, not really." And so all the new looks, the new race kits. Then I think I'm not sure if we missed that Bergamont was in the training liner. There was a picture later. Instagram, I think Eddie uploaded it. Said no one noticed that we
got overshadowed totally.
I'm not sure if he's playing, because Eddie is super smart. He has a marketing degree, and he's super smart, seriously. And you can put easily a 29er wheel in the Manitou fork. So maybe he was just fucking with all the media.
That's clever.
Plus, we have a race picture. I have to check it again if I can zoom in what's written on the tires. So maybe he was just playing some marketing tricks after the race.
That's clever, though.
Yeah. So sometimes it's hard to rethink about it because there's so much stuff going on. Sometimes it's even hard to when we sit on the Monday and said, who was on the podium again? And it's just 24 hours ago. But sometimes there's so much stuff going on in your head and. But what else? Sometimes it's easy to have in your mind walking through the pits. The 29er thing was a big thing. Give me some questions, and I think it's easy to answer. But what else?
I didn't really. Obviously, watching just the live stream, it's pretty tough. You just get to see, what everyone else is seeing almost on live stream. You don't really get any behind the scenes stuff. I was just curious, really, if there's anything that really stuck out in your mind. But
it's I think it was a lot, but it's tough to. Also, I'm not sure I can easily talk about all the stuff. Sometimes you have to separate when you have some informations. But in the first race, I think it was also for me because you're coming back to the season to see everybody. It was hard also the pits are a bit different. In Fort William, everything is so close together. Sometimes you don't have the, let's say, 10 minutes to walk from one side of the pits to the other to say hello to everybody. It's a bit stretched, and usually I'm spending a lot of time. It's not a lot, but I think I spend enough time in the pits to sit down to have a beer with some people. But this time it went pretty quick. It was compared to the 10 days Crankworks, it was like boom, done, and it was so quick over. But also maybe because now I have to also spend some time with my clients, some bike checks for Vital, a toolbox battle with Nigel, cool. With Nigel Reeve and Aaron, the mechanics of Mark Wallace and. Troy, because when I was talking, it's like, oh no, he's leading a bit. His one is lighter, and they have so customized with carbon plates, cut out things. So everything, I think it's with all the years, the level is so high, and everybody's so into the game. Like if it's a rider, if it's a mechanic, the team manager, all the stuff what's going, the physios, cooks. Funny details. Now I think Specialized is pretty good in this. They had not just the custom. Back in the days they had a frame, and it was special for world champs to get like a world champs frame or bike with all the details. Now I think they noticed that you can not play with the media, but you can get the attention on the bikes and parts the whole season.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I think like Loic and Finn's bike look totally different.
Yeah.
I know. I saw, I think maybe it was their designer or something, a comment on Loic's photo saying, if you like this one, wait until you see the one for round 3. It's like, shit.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Also, different kits, Greg will have different new kits. But the details on the specialized bikes, they had like mud guards with like this with this Mama Teresa now, with this Jesus woman.
All right.
What is the wife of Jesus?
Mary.
Yeah.
I think maybe not. I could be totally wrong.
I have not so much to do with religious stuff,
no,
but
me either.
and the face, we haven't even noticed it in the beginning, but the face was Loic and Miranda. So they put the little, the face and Finn's face in the on the print. It was printed on it, and all these little details. It's amazing. So. Sometimes you have to spot all this stuff. Sometimes I try to hide it. Sometimes not stuff like this, but if there's new stuff in the pits, it's always a mission. Like we're also doing a lot of pit bit stuff. And sometimes it's a bit weird that the fans out there, there are so much. I don't want to say keyboard warriors, but they have, when you're doing a 6 light show, you're getting maybe 3 comments. People saying, "Hey, it's cool," but when you put a bike on it, because people are nuts for that stuff. Then there are 20 comments. Yeah. So we're putting so much effort in a slideshow, and they see all that what they want to see are bikes and parts. No, but I think also how much effort puts Santa Cruz and all the sponsors into it to make this thing happen. With they produce the tires, like the dry tire and the mud tire. And some hubs and some angles set. And actually, it was I have a picture of it. It was 27.5 extra XXL frame from Greg. It wasn't even the a rear triangle. They got a new one. So all the details and to meet them after such a long winter, and imagine also for them, you're putting so much effort in your training, and you have no idea where you are.
Yes.
Like you think you're training well, then you see Adam Brayton in his Instagram stories doing this
CrossFit.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, like you said, the game's way higher, but social media probably plays a pretty big part of that because you can keep an eye on everyone. Yeah, and it depends on like the trainer. Todd Schumlich is uploading videos. He's a trainer of Aaron Gwynn and Richie Root, for example, also from a lot of others, and he's putting videos on his Insta. You should follow that guy. Perform MX or something, but you will find a Todd Schumlich. He's also the team manager of the Norco team. Okay. And then you see how the best guys are training, and you think, "Fuck, am I doing it right?" Back in the days, they think they spent time on the road bike and went to the gym to do some weights, and now it's all of this balance stuff, core strengths, and I think. If I would be a rider, I would be mind fucked. Like you think you have to trust your trainer so well, and there are so many different strategies. Yeah, so many different strategies. It's a very interesting field, really, because, like you say, people are doing it so differently too. I mean, not everyone will be doing CrossFit like Adam Brayton. Not everyone wants to be ripped and like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of people just want to be smaller, and like it's a weird. It's just I think this is also, I think, a thing with the body. I think I had this conversation before. Sometimes some people get into it, but do you think there are a lot of sports, when you look at some other sports, the body structure, the body type says if you can do this, or when you are a swimmer, they have this massive V body. Mm-hmm. When you are a marathon runner, you have super skinny. Yep. But maybe there are some freestyle sports, also motocross, but. In downhill, you have so many. I don't want to say Danny Hart is like fat, but I know what you mean. He's not ripped like G. On he's smaller. And then you have Brooke, who's a bit of a massive, bull, then you have Troy, who's also a bit smaller. But and World Cup racing, it's the main thing are skills and what you can do on your bike. So I think it's pretty unique for me. I think. I agree with you on that totally. Yeah, I've never really thought about that before, but there isn't really a perfect build or anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty interesting. And so is the training.
Yeah.
And also, what also came to mind, and why it's like giving props to like guys like Bernard Kerr. He's up there in the top 10, and when you look at his setup, he's taking care of everything. His setup is pretty good now. But when you next to him, he was staying next to Specialized, or pretty close to Specialized, and they have a microwave in the back of the trailer. That is their kitchen, and then in one trailer next, they have a full built, better kitchen that we have probably at home.
Really?
And with a chill out zone and everything. And this is also, I think, it can help you when it comes to the little percentage of being the best.
Yeah. Well, that's what Kathy was talking about too. Being a team manager, it's about being able to take the pressure off your riders, being able to let them just focus on riding a bike. They don't have to worry about what they're eating for breakfast or anything, or where they're sleeping that night. And I think that's a really important thing, is obviously getting onto those factory / manufacturer rides. It's going to make the life so much easier.
When when it works for you, I think on Brent was saying it in the Vital thing in the podcast. For this first year, he got money from Orange. Was allowed. It was a 17-year-old kid. Was allowed to go wherever he wanted, what he ever want to do. Then he got on Honda, and now he had you have to do this, you have to eat this, and all this stuff. But I think for Bernard it works perfect, and also for guys like Eddie.
True. Yeah. People just like to be up against it a little bit and just be a bit more free.
Yeah, imagine. I think especially Eddie, if he would be on a big team, I think sooner or later there would be points when it wouldn't work out. Mm-hmm. He's a super nice guy, super smart. He's super fast, but he also likes to enjoy himself. And I'm not sure if every team manager would appreciate it and all this stuff. So I think for some of them it works perfect. But especially I think Bernard, he's his own boss. He also what Emily told me, she loves that she can sit down. Bernard is listening to her. They work together like this. Like Rupert, Emily, and Bernard, they work out a plan what works best for everybody. They spend the time together in Queenstown. And so I think all the little differences, that it's not just one way to do it. This is what I like.
The cool thing is as well, certain people will fit on certain teams, like you just said. Would Aaron Gwynn fit on the syndicate? Probably not.
Exactly.
It just wouldn't work.
Exactly. And I think this is what makes also World Cup unique for me. Imagine if every pit would look the same, and it's just from walking from pit to pit, and you would see and hear everywhere the same, and it's also not so. I know you have a motocross background.
Yes.
But when
don't get me into that. People go crazy when I talk about it.
No. I went to the Vegas Supercross.
No way, jealous as fuck.
After Rampage 2 years ago.
Okay.
And on the podium, from the youngest to the oldest, it's always the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're so not robots, but especially at the peak of the sport, they are told what to say. Pretty much, they don't really give anything away. There's not really much personality.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is really.
And this is what I was like, oh my God, the little one. Yeah, I want to thank God that I'm healthy, and I want to thank Bell, Maxxis, Yamaha, and it was staged like a script, like someone was staying there, the father was staying there, and you have to read this. I think they learn it at home. They must, they got so. And this is what I'm not really stoked about. So this, especially a post like what Luik did there, doesn't matter what was written in it. It comes from his heart. He believes. I think this is what makes it pretty cool what we have here.
I agree.
And so every race is I'm just stoked to be there and to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry that I have nothing specific about
it. It's good, man. It's fine.
It was more like what was going on the track. Then Mike Jones, for example, was super pinned. He broke his radius, and I'm sure he would also be one of the guys who could have been up there.
Yeah.
Jack Moir is on his game. He won Rotorua, and now I think it's the first time we see him fully recovered. He also, he had this collarbone thing when it didn't heal proper. A couple of years ago, so it's also, I think we will see a lot of guys in the top 20 this year which haven't been up there the last years because just.
Did you notice that Finn Isles' time was 4th fastest in elite?
Oh really?
Yeah.
but on quali or on finals? But on finals again, I have to say,
finals is a little bit skewed. Yeah. But I believe it was finals too. Yeah. But
this kid, he will have a massive long
he's legit.
time. Yeah, but it's also he's coming. I think he grew up competitive. Yeah. He was doing ski racing before. Also, I think in Canada it's like a school class. You learn it in school, or you can do it in school. So growing up in Whistler and all this stuff. And also he's super smart. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Like he's so interested in so much stuff, and he has knowledge about so much non-racing stuff. When we spent time, I went on a shooting with Mono and him. So Mono was filming him, and I spent the day with him taking pics of the shooting. And first of all, when he's not doing something, he gets super quickly bored. Right. And one time he was working on some wood stuff. He was just hammering on it. Then I showed him how to do pens. He's super interested in everything. So I was running up and down the trails, and he can try pens on me. So he tried to take pictures of me running up and down the trail, and we tried out different shutter speeds and all this stuff and techniques how to do pen shots. Then he's he knows how much rain is coming down in which area, and so much interest, and so much. It's amazing to talk to this kid. With some guys it's more like small talk, but with others you have really
you go deep.
But deep also in like personality stuff, but also with a big range of stuff to talk about. Yeah. And but Finn is. When he definitely one of the future guys. With juniors, I think I'm not sure how it was. I can't remember how it was back in the days. But even if the sport is growing, I'm not sure if so much stuff is coming. It's tough to make the break. To get into the World Cup scene. Yeah. For sure. They're like Alex Marin and Matt Walker. Matt Walker will also be up there. He's super fast. Chaos, but Chaos is also like. With his sister, I think it's a perfect, environment.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know much about the junior stuff myself. I wouldn't say I don't follow it. I pretty much follow Finn because he writes for Specialized and he writes joystick stuff, which is kind of in a way connected to us. But I don't really keep much of an eye on it, if I'm honest. I'm going to this year though because it's. Yeah.
I think there were different, for sometimes, Brage Vestervik is a Norwegian guy. Uh-huh. The first time I saw him, I think he was 13. He was a pre-racer in Hafjell. And I told him, have you seen the little girl? It's unbelievable how fast, because he had long blonde hair. I really thought it was a girl. They're amazing. His father is a massive Viking, and they're so lovely. It's amazing to see them.
I know his dad, Finn's dad, listened to the podcast, which is pretty cool. I have a friend. He maybe doesn't even know this if he is listening, who works with him, and he just randomly started talking about it to my friend, who turns out my friend is one of my best friends. He moved over to Canada recently. Finn's dad, I don't know your name, but thank you. But he just randomly came out and said, "Oh, do you listen to this?" And obviously my buddy Rob was like, "Yeah, it's my old school friend, one of my best friends."
That's cool.
It's crazy.
Cool. Just laughing about the couple of days ago. Have you seen the 17 question with Finn Isles on
I haven't. No, I haven't.
You should. And the mother was his mother was posting something on Facebook. He shared it, and my goof son listened to my goof son. So I think it's the parents are amazing. So it's cool to support. Will be interesting or fun for them to see their little boy growing up this way on a social media, not just personal social media, growing into the scene, giving proper interviews and all this stuff. So it's
future for sure.
And must be cool. On one hand, it makes it a bit harder, also for photography, when everything has to be quicker up. I don't hope that everybody has to sit with an iPad and upload straight from the track in the future.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not a fan of it.
No, me either. That's the thing. It's social media and all that sort of instant gratification, and people being able to just instantly watch stuff and replay stuff and all that sort of stuff. I don't know, man. I'm very torn between the whole thing.
And I think it's the one thing what comes coming to a podcast now. I think it was a time when it was I did my first. It was my second podcast. I did one with Sven at Crankworks 2013.
Okay.
And it felt like a bit like not a lot of people have listened to it,
right?
Because these days it was so new that everybody had a video, and it was so you have to see something. Now I think we have seen too many videos.
Yeah, definitely. It's time for an alternative, almost.
Yeah,
I agree.
And everybody is like, Kathy told me she likes to enjoy it. I was talking with her about it, that she likes to enjoy it when she's doing the food in the kitchen. And I prefer to listen to podcasts, obviously, when I'm spending time in airports and planes, but also when I edit pictures. Usually a lot of times just the movie is playing in the background just to hear something.
Yeah.
But I figured out podcasts work way better. You're editing World Cup mountain bike pictures and you're listening to. I'm just into mountain bike podcasts. Not so I don't know. A lot of people listen to everything.
Yeah.
But I'm more on the mountain bike thing, and thanks to you deliver me enough stuff to edit my pictures.
We try. This thing's been crazy though, dude. I mean, like the whole journey of starting it and everything, it's still kind of mind-blowing, if I'm honest with you. I can't believe it's got to where it's got to. I mean, without going too deep into it, I started this thing without knowing anything about audio or anything about even sitting and not interviewing, but just chatting to people. I like to think I can hold a conversation, but yeah, I just wanted to do it. I mean, that was literally it. I mean, I spend every day driving a car, literally every day. And it was just something that I thought, you know what, there's not really like anyone doing it.
Yeah.
And I figured, you know what, why not? I'm just going to start this thing. And it's been crazy, honestly. Like the amount of feedback which is coming back, the download figures are pretty impressive. They're still pretty mind-blowing. Cool. But as well, like I was talking to Joe from Steel City Media about it the other day. There's so, like you just said, there's so much media, there's so much content that for a brand, it's kind of hard to know where to put the money because, do you put it in an edit which is going to go on the front page of Pink Bike for one day? If you're lucky, if you're lucky, like it'll be on there for one day. And the cool thing with this is it's going to be on iTunes obviously forever, but people go back and listen.
Yeah.
And that's the cool thing. And it's surprising. I think I'm a bit of an anomaly when it comes to podcasts because I listen to them all day while I'm driving. So
okay, cool.
It's pretty normal for me to listen to 9 hours worth of stuff in one day. And I always forget that because some people maybe won't listen to this episode for 1, 2, 3, 4 months. Me, like if something comes up new on my podcast feed on my phone, I listen to it the next day. Because that's all I do when I'm drive.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I listen to everything, dude. I listen to so much stuff, so much random stuff as well.
But what kind of, give me an example. Is it just like based on interest? For sure it's based on interest, but is it just sports wise or
no? I kind of got into it through Joe Rogan. I'm a big Joe Rogan fan. So the Joe Rogan podcast is, I think, one of the biggest podcasts on iTunes. So I listen to Joe Rogan every day. Whenever he puts a new one out, I don't think I've missed one of those in probably 4 or 5 years. I've probably not missed one. And that's no word of a lie. If I think I'm missing it, I will catch up with it. What else? I listen to stuff. Obviously, I listen to the Vital ones. That's pretty cool. The Forward, which is Lance Armstrong's podcast, is really good.
Really?
It's really good. He doesn't talk about bikes, which is really cool. He just has random guests on.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a big moto fan. So there's one called Main Event Moto.
Sure.
They provide the intro music now, which is pretty cool. And Daniel, who is behind Main Event Moto, has become a good friend of mine through podcasts and stuff.
Cool. Oh, cool.
So yeah, there's so much stuff.
So there is some kind of scene. So it's like a bit like, also, I don't want to say like a big scene with people doing podcasts, but you have, you listen to each other and maybe giving advices.
I don't personally. I've not spoke to anyone who has another mountain bike podcast.
Okay.
I don't know why. I mean, when I saw I dare say we were one of the first with this one. I say we.
Yeah.
But then there was another one from Descent World which started, and I thought, I'm going to reach out straight away and let's do something together. But I literally just haven't had time. But I think the cool thing with podcasting is there's so many riders you can talk to, so much. Yeah. There's just so much pie for people to take. Like, I'm not butthurt by anyone starting one of these personally. I think it's amazing. It helps everybody. The more there is, the more mountain bike podcasts there are, the more iTunes will recommend, will sort of like see it, the more it's just going to work if everyone just bounced off each other. I think it's cool that Vital started one because their platform's massive. Like, it's way bigger than what I can ever have. I don't know what the figures are like, but I'm going to guess it's way bigger than this. But yeah, there's just plenty of space for people, and I'm just trying to do it a little bit differently, and it's cool just to watch it grow, really.
No, I think you're doing it absolutely right. And as you said, I think it's pretty easy to talk to you. We haven't met before. If I just downloaded Skype here and added Davey.
Yep.
And it feels okay because I listened to all the other podcasts. I had a feeling that I know you. It's not just you hear your voice the first time and you have no idea.
The thing is, like, people don't want to hear from me at the end of the day. Like, people want to hear from interesting folks like you guys, and all the guests I've had on have been amazing. Like, everyone's chipped in and, given it a share, or, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's, I've not had a single guest on who's just like, it's like, feels like it's something they just have to do as part of the career. I think because it's something new, people are keen.
It's an honor, It's like, it's not just like I'm saying it. Oh, I have a podcast today. It's like, fuck yeah, I have a podcast.
It's different, right?
A podcast interview, and it's something cool. And as I said before, I'm still, in the back of my head, I know that a lot of people who know me, even if they know my story already, but they will sit down now, maybe in an airport or in a car, or will prepare the food and listen us, both of us talking.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of like long form conversation. I think even just hearing people's stories from the start to the finish, it's pretty cool. Like, it's really hard. You can get that from an interview or an article or anything like that, or photos. It's really tough to get that. That's
the thing, for me as an ex-magazine editor. Sometimes I have such long audio interviews, and you have to cut it down, and you have you can't use this. You are limited to a space. Even in videos, no one is watching a video for 50 minutes or for 2 hours or something. So, but if it's listening, you can just relax. You can say, sit on a sofa. As I said, I'm editing, and I'm editing for 4 hours. So it doesn't matter if the podcast is a half an hour or 2 hours. So I'm even more stoked if it's longer.
Same. I am, to be honest. Again, like, a lot of the drives I do are often, like I said, I'll spend easily 5, 6, 7 hours a day, like, in the car. So for me, like, the longer the better. Like, bring it on, And every Rogan podcast is 3 hours, pretty much.
Okay.
So it passes the time. I'd rather be learning something and finding things out about people than listening to bullshit radio, and been told what I want to listen to on the radio. So.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. So I think it's fun to see something. For me, it is a comeback. This is the podcast. I think were I'm not sure when the first podcast started, but I think it was pretty early.
Yeah.
But especially to see in a world or in a time when everything is going faster and more flashy and more high tech and all this stuff, we are here to produce something that's just about listening.
Yeah. I love that side of it too. I think it's rad. Like, it's very difficult for people now, like you just said, to slow down and just relax and listen to something. You're always looking at your phone. You're always getting caught up in social media and hunting for likes and all that sort of stuff. And I'm as much as I hate that stuff, I'm kind of part of it in some respects because I'm trying to build up something, whether it's through Hookit, the actual distribution company, or through this. You're always trying to get more, not attention, but more visibility. But it's very difficult to just slow down and listen and just
I know exactly what you mean. So it's but for me it's like, this is actually I'm still I'm still smoking cigarettes and sometimes this is one thing, like a lot of times when Steve Jones is at the World Cup from Dirt, when I started the job as an editor, I told, I was at the press camp, I told one of the engineers, like, we had just personal talk, and I told him, hey, like, Steve Jones is some kind of role model for me. He told me, hopefully not in a I'm not sure if it's a good way, because, he's also known as like to have a drink or wine, but how his position in the scene was. He wasn't just a side person, he was also, like Sven, pretty into it.
Yeah.
But when I met him, he also has, I would say, a lot of, when he explains something to me, I understand it better, or he's some
you like just relate to it a little more.
Yeah, and it has some impact on my thinking, let's say, if it's the right word. But so when he's at the World Cup, before I finished shooting, coming down, did the pit stuff, walking around the pits, getting some shots, some interviews, and when we went to the media room, usually I start ingesting my pictures, but then I have 5 minutes, sometimes 10, and sitting with him, or sometimes alone, sometimes with others. But we sit outside and have a cigarette and a beer together. And just sometimes these 5 minutes, these slow down. Yeah. I think, I know smoking is not good, not healthy.
But sometimes it gives you that space just to slow down, yeah.
Exactly. The others, I see them rushing on the computer, ingesting cards, already start tagging, editing, and all this stuff. But for me, it's like to reflect, sit outside in front of the media room, looking on the hill to see the start, the finish line, and to understand how cool it is, what we are doing there, to appreciate to be there. I think some of them maybe forget about it, or maybe they get this feeling when they're sitting in the airport in a plane or something. But for me, I really like when it just came in my mind when you said it's a bit slowing down, and sometimes you need this break, and you would never sit there just watching 5 minutes on the start and the finish area and thinking, okay, 5 minutes over, let's start working again. This 5 minute break, so the podcast is maybe a 2 hour break. This is then on my sofa, or I listened to Clay and Brenton when I was waiting to my connection flight in Paris, and it's so much better, he said listen to radio and just songs you have heard before, and I enjoy it, and stoked to.
It's a life changer for me, that's for sure. It's good to every day hear different people's perspectives on whether it's life, business, sport, health, nutrition, whatever. I think you've always got to be taking in just knowledge and ideas and stuff like that. It can fire you up as well for the day, I find, I love listening to a lot of business podcasts, because especially with what I do for a job, I'm in and out talking to bike shops all day, and sometimes it can be pretty demoralizing, if I'm honest. Sometimes it can, especially after, a 6 hour drive, and if you can have the last half an hour of that drive just sort of getting yourself fired up a little bit, and you know what I mean? That's not a bad thing at all. And sometimes music doesn't do that to me. I just have to listen to cool stuff and hear interesting ideas and whatnot. So
sometimes just life can be so interesting, and that's also when I meet people from different ages, different sports, different backgrounds. Doesn't matter if I was sitting in Rotorua, I was sitting with a homeless guy. I was sitting there with my Czechs. They were playing Ride Your Fucking Bike in the background. Okay. But I was super hungry, and I thought about it for drinking. Everybody was on the Eat Street. It's one typical tourist street with a roof above, and all the restaurants, bars are in one street, both sides. Okay. So and everybody was in one area on one side watching the movie, and I went back to the other side. I was sitting alone in an Italian restaurant, had my pasta, just because I was super hungry. I had no food the whole day. And after food, I had a cigarette, and I was sitting, because Rotorua is the only place where I've seen homeless people. And he was sitting there. I had no money in my pockets, so I offered him, because he was sitting there playing music. So I sat next to him, offered him a cigarette, and then we had a chat. I was sitting there with my two shacks, but with $3,300 on it, and he was sitting there homeless, playing music, and we started chatting, because sometimes it gives you another perspective on what you're doing, what's happening in your life, that I can travel on the other side of the world, and and some people just sit there and play music to get some money for food. And I think this is, it's on a different, you listening to podcasts about, I know what you mean, like this motivation speech, or like people telling their story, but it's everything for me. It's like, there's so many, sometimes you forget about when you're sitting in a plane. There are 200 people, and each one have their own problems, and
a different story.
Everybody's a different story, and you never know who is sitting next to you, and if they have if something good happened, if something bad happened, why they are in a bad mood, why they're in a good mood, if they have some cool to say. And this is why I actually pretty enjoy to meet people. Usually, if I'm not too tired and fell asleep straight, it happens so many times that I met new random people in planes or trains, and start talking to them and have conversations with them. Maybe because I think a smile is the best thing what you can give someone. So I don't like to look angry, or like looking past people. If I see someone noticing me, and there's maybe sometimes also with the tattoos. I like, this is why, not why I have them, but I whenever I get a skull or like bad stuff, I think if an old lady in the airport see the smileys on my knees and she has to start smiling, this is, it's a good thing.
Job done, yeah.
Sure. And I think this is the most important thing in life, like to leave footsteps in some, this is when I was younger. I was one of the, in my area, with my buddies, I was the first one, because I was so stoked about to got his driver's license and a car. And I teach so many of my friends driving a car. I learned how to drive a car when I was 13.
Right.
Some of them were 18, actually allowed to get the license, but they never got into it. No one teach them how to drive a car. So we went on some parking lots and I showed them how to drive a car. And even now, if I haven't seen them for 10 years, I know if they maybe talk to their grandchilds, and they got the question, maybe they get it, maybe not. How do you learn how to drive a car? And they will remember how we were stoned on a parking lot. I teach them how to drive a car, and I think it's about all this stuff. Now it doesn't matter. It's a big thing how to teach someone how to drive a car, but also in Germany at the Dirt Masters Festival, because of the magazine and all this stuff, and some of the kids, I'm doing the commentary. I have a high five for every kid there, and I know, imagine on the opposite, you're on the other side. Yeah. How I stoked I was when the riders noticed me when I wasn't just a side person, and when, for example, Aaron Green comes to you without, sometimes they react. So if you see, they recognize, I have seen them, and then they come over and say hello. But from the back, if they notice me and they could drive by without saying something, but they stop and say first hello to me. Like, this is the little things. And so on the other hand, I will always have, in Germany, it's like the kids on the festival. I see that they're looking and then just going over, give a high five, and you see the smile on their face. So it's just little things, and this is what lives make interesting and special every day. So
Sweet, dude. All right. Should we just bang through some listener questions real quick, if that's okay?
Have you seen the ones also on, I shared your...
Oh, yeah, I've seen them.
So, okay.
Of course.
Let's go for it.
These listener questions are once again supported by Saks Underwear. So look, these things are amazing, so throw out your Primark or H&M skidder-ridden undercrackers and upgrade your wardrobe. You'll love the patented ballpark pouch that keeps your nuts in place. All Saks Underwear comes fitted around all major muscle groups and have flat-out seams to reduce any chafing. Not only will you love them, your partner will love them, and most importantly, your nether regions will love them. So don't just take my word for it. National Geographic recently labelled Saks Underwear as the ultimate men's underwear, and they're used by people like Ken Block, Danny Hart, and Ben the Deaconator Deacon. So for more information, just visit saksunderwear.com or slide into your local bike shop and ask them for more information. Over and out. All right, so we got one which is a little more technical, but I'm hoping that some people who are really into photography will be listening to this. So,
okay.
At Andrew Santoro on Instagram wanted to know,
yeah.
I see a lot of photographers switching to Sony mirrorless cameras. Will you make the jump, or are you still with Canon? Canon. Sorry, what did I say? Canyon. All right, Canon. My bad.
Sorry, Dunk, and sorry, Matt Delorme, but no fucking way. I will not go on one of the little Sonys. First of all, is it haptic, when the feeling you have when you have touched something? Is it in Germany? It's haptic, I think. Haptic.
Yeah. God, what's the name? Yeah,
we'll
just use that. I know what you mean. You get a feeling when you touch stuff like yeah.
It feels like a toy camera. Okay. And maybe if I bought 2 years ago one of these little Fujis with a fixed lens, but just because of traveling, you never, when you have a camera bag on your back, you're in the car, on the plane, you said, stop, I have to get my camera back out and put a lens on and put a card in and all this stuff. You never do this. So I thought about to because Duncan had such a cool gallery about his traveling. It was always when you are for us, for Instagram, Tinder profile pictures and all this stuff. So it was always cool to have Duncan around when you were traveling, because he took so many cool pictures of us, and so it was on his Facebook is massive. I think 2015 and 16 year gallery. So we're always putting the pictures of us traveling. So I thought about to give it a try, but I'm still. Sometimes I want to see it with my eyes. It's not just when I see a cool sunset, sunrise in the plane. It's not always like, just in case it's super cool, I have my phone. But for World Cup shooting, also maybe it works when I would be a full-time EWS photographer. Maybe I would think about, but I would have to deal with the difference. Hello.
For those who aren't,
you had a guess.
Can't see. My girlfriend just popped right in. And
Go ahead. I think you see a little difference in the pictures. Yeah. I believe I can tell you which picture is taken with a Sony or one of the little mirrorless cameras, or with the big Nikon or Sony. I'm not into this. My buddy was actually joking about it. If you guys ask me some technical, I'm not a photo nerd. Usually when you're in an airport and someone grown up, an older male, someone sees you and sees, oh, he's a photographer. Oh, have you seen the report about the lens? The lens can do this and this, and the camera can do the frames. And I said, I have no fucking idea. I just have the camera, and I want to take pictures that look nice and know how to press a button. So I'm not this camera nerd with all the technical stuff. But you will never know. I don't think that looking through the little finder, to see the pictures. Duncan is always to check if the picture is focused. He don't check it on the screen. He's looking through the viewfinder. But also, I need the big 1DX in my hand. It feels like a camera, and I know what I get out of it. And I think because I think I still have to improve my editing part. And I think you have to be more into, I think you learn always. I'm happy with what I'm getting out, but I'm always my biggest critic also. Okay. I'm never, it's also back to when I said about the graffiti, I was always more stoked about the pieces of the others. Mm-hmm. It's hard, on one thing it's good because you always want to be better sometimes, but you also have to be happy with what you get. I'm happy about my pictures, but I always think when I'm sitting next to Dan or Duncan, like, fuck, why I haven't seen this? No, seriously, it's
I can imagine that stuff.
It's not that I'm sad about it, but it always pushes me to think different, to try something different, and so I'm always try to think, why does my picture is not the color balance I always think the other's doing it better. So this is what drives me to do it. To work on my skills and all this stuff. And so, back to the question, nope, I will not. I think I can say never. Okay. I'm happy with my. I got Sven's old 1DX, and it's so beaten up. Actually, it works perfect. But when you look at it, when I've sent it to Canon for check and clean, they were like, oh, what the fuck? This camera has seen it. No kids cameras for me.
Sweet. Good answer. Next one. Kevin Radical. Hopefully you know Kevin.
Sure.
I think you've already kind of answered this, but if you weren't capturing epic moments with your lens, Arsenal, what would you be doing?
I think I would have, try if I wouldn't be. Otherwise, in other words, the question is, if I wouldn't be a photographer,
what would you do?
What would I do? Yeah, I think I would have tried another 5 different jobs. As I said before, I tried Formula 1, I lived in Greece, and all this stuff. So if the photography wouldn't have worked out, and the editorial job at the magazine wouldn't have worked out, so maybe, or if I would have bought a road bike instead of a mountain bike, I would be now a road cycling commentator, or I would seriously. It's not. I've not much stuff. Just happens. I never dreamed of working for a Formula 3 team, for example, I never dreamed of being working for a magazine. They ask me, and I never dreamed of working in. For some people, they have goals, and you can get it wrong, but I'm not the guy who has long-term goals and try. I work hard for what I'm doing at the moment, not what can happen. I don't. When I started working for Sven or with Sven, I never said to myself, in 5 years I want to be a full-time photographer and make a living out of it.
Right.
I'm doing it for the next race, and I'm doing it. And I'm not sure, I think some people would say, oh, but if you don't have goals, you will never work hard for it. I'm working my ass off for everything what I'm doing, but I'm doing it for the moment. It's not just, I think, if you're thinking too far and then you would try calculate thinking. If you talk to someone and you think like you can get something out of it maybe later. I'm doing it for, because I want to do it. It's not, for the now. It's not just. So I could be everything. Maybe not an astronaut, but seriously, it's like I would also. I'm not afraid of working. If the whole thing, if I fuck it up, just to make a living, my dream was actually my dream job, because I think after doing so many jobs where I was always all the jobs I was involved in something, I had to go to meetings and all this stuff. Sounds weird, but I never had a typical stupid job where you just have to press one button or something. And the guy who's sitting in a company opening the fence in the entrance. No, seriously, you're laughing.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I think when I want to be retired, I want to be the guy who's sitting in this little house, in a little cabin in front of the entrance. Yeah, but the people, all the companies I've worked, the people were smiling. You know everybody, because everybody has to walk by to go in the company and go out.
Yeah.
So you have all the informations. The stories of everybody. Some people stop for a chat. These days you can have an iPad under the table, and watch YouPorn or something. So I think this would be my retirement dream job, to be the guy on the entrance opening the fence, saying hello to everybody, giving high fives to everybody.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good. I like it. Next one was from your mentor, Sven Martin. What's your best finding internet story?
He kind of mentioned it before. Let's go back. Not the best one, but it happens really seriously a lot of times. So in Lourdes, actually, we booked Dan Heron booked the location for us, and it says Wi-Fi, but it was just a dongle with some gigabytes on it, and it was working before kind of, and then when you had to upload pictures, it wasn't working anymore.
Okay.
So I finished edited my first pictures for the clients just to send something in the beginning. No internet, and I went out of the apartment house, and I was actually ready to walk around through the whole city. I had no idea where to go. It was just you walk around with the open MacBook and trying to find a signal. But on the other side of the street was a hotel, and I was my dog, when facial expressions. I was like, oh, sorry, and I was expecting like they were angry or something. And the guy was like, hey, I always thought I want to pay for it, and they were like, dude, here's a Wi-Fi password. You can sit down here in the lobby. So I got the password, went back, uploaded my pictures, went back, and it was slightly working on the window. But all of us, we went out downstairs every night and upload our pics. I was sitting there last night, 3:30 or something in the morning.
No.
And upload my pictures. It was super fast. So luckily, otherwise you would have sit there for half an hour. But it was 2 minutes. Upload all the pictures, and then I could go to bed at 3:45.
Perfect.
So, but there is a special story with the one of my first times of the one-man army story, which I produced about Sven.
Okay.
And it was in Val di Sole. There's a pit below, but there's on one stage, on one area there is the lift gondola house, and the media room was on the first floor, and I think it was back in the days, the GT truck was on this area close to it. So, but I don't know what they're thinking. So a lot of times, us media squids, we are the only or the last photographers working in the media room. I think a lot of press guys, they just do it while the race, straight after, and they leave. So not everybody is working hours to 1 or 2 o'clock at night to work on the pictures.
Right.
So they close the media room. And Sven was, I think, climbing the other truck to get on the roof, and he got the Wi-Fi, the internet cable out of the window, because it was from one room to the other, and he got it out and plugged it in his computer. So we were sitting at night on the roof of this lift house just to get fast internet. But there are a lot of, one time in Windham, he stole kind of our car. We were staying with the Bulls team because we had a massive house, and for a change week we invited Joe Bowman, Duncan Philpott, and Sven to stay with us. And in the middle of the night, 4 o'clock or something, the alarm of our car went on, and it was Sven kind of stealing our car to try to find internet in the city. So internet is a big thing for us media guys to upload our stuff. So there was always stuff going on.
That's funny.
So that's, I think that's the question.
All right, man. Last one. I don't know how to say this person's name, so I'm really sorry if I totally fuck it up. It's Keek Abelera.
Kika.
There you go, Kika. And he wants to know. It's a really challenging question. Ketchup or mayo? Because you Germans are weird with your chips and mayo, man. What the hell?
I like it dirty. When I'm ordering a burger, seriously, all the time, I want to have my fingers soaked in sauce. You know, that's like, I hate it when it's dry.
Okay.
Everything. You know, people are going crazy about my food. When I want spaghetti, they can be the same. Oh, Sven was telling that we had a burger in Lourdes. I said, "Oh, you're putting some chips in your ketchup and mayo, not opposite. You know, so you don't put ketchup and mayo." So I used the half bottle of ketchup and mayo for just some fries because I like it. You know,
dirty.
But to answer it, I would. You can't eat so much. You can eat more ketchup than mayonnaise, I would say. You know. So if I would have the chance to get one, if I have enough, how to say it? Now let's go for mayo.
Mayo?
Yeah.
I'll go mayo too. For everyone out there who's screaming at the phone, just going like, "What about you, Davey? What about you?" Mayo, everyone.
I was out there.
All right, man. Last one. Okay, so what we've been doing is having the previous guest leave a question. All right. So Claudio asked the question: what's the reason you're in the mountain bike scene, and what keeps you in it? Which
I think it was about, I have to tell you, when I listened to Kathy, I thought, because you asked me before, so I thought actually Kathy's question is for me, but then
nope.
They know, I know, but it's kind of the same.
Okay.
So what is the reason why I'm in the sport? Let's say in the World Cup scene, because let's say I was too slow, or I crashed too much to be a racer by myself. So I see it on my job now. I take it as why I'm the photographer in the scene. So I wasn't fast. You know, maybe if I would be a bit faster and haven't crashed so much, I would be still doing a job in Germany and being a German racer and racing by myself for sure. You know, not on a World Cup level, but I would be still happy to be not a weekend warrior, but like a lead racer in Germany.
Yeah.
But because I wasn't fast enough, and with the magazine, I found my way into the scene.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, it feels like I found my position in this whole industry.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just feels like right for me.
Feels like the right spot to be in. Yeah.
I feel like
that's something important too, man. It's something that a lot of people don't have. You know, a lot of people hate the job and don't enjoy what they do every day. So if you're enjoying it.
Yeah, but as I said before, if this happens to me, I quit. I quit so many jobs in my life before, but because I think this is the biggest problem for so many people. If you don't like something, change something.
Totally.
And now with the magazine, it on one hand felt it was hard for me to leave, but I think it was a time for it. And I didn't feel like I was the matching person or the right person for this job anymore. So this is why I quit, and now I have a new challenge. Yeah. But I think I wasn't fast enough. Found my way, and it just feels right. It feels like I won't say family. It's like I love to travel with the media squids. I love to hang out with the riders. I love to sit down, lay in the mud, in the dust, get roosted by when they smash some berms. Yeah. And I love to be there. I love to sit at 2:00 in the night and talk shit with Sven and Dan now, before with all the other guys. So I think it's the best way for me to travel the world, to get a unique experience, and to be a happy person. Right. And why I'm still doing it is exactly this. This is the lifestyle I choose now for the next, hopefully, usually had, as I said before, I changed a lot of time. Or I did change, I changed my lifestyle completely a lot of times. So, but now this feels absolute right. And I hope it feels right for the next 10, 20, I don't know how many years. So at the moment, it feels like the perfect match for me.
Awesome. Well, you're doing a bloody good job, mate.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I guess you need to ask a question for the next person.
Give me a little. You know who it is. Don't say it, but just a little. It depends. Like.
It's another media guy.
Media, okay.
Or girl.
Oh, okay. Media
or
guy.
Child.
What? Wait, give me a second. Okay. It's based on what I'm saying I'm using. Like I always say, I would give one of my balls to have the style of Brendan Fairclough on a bike.
Right.
So, what would you personally give? Like, let's say it's stay with a body part to get some specific style or skill from first which rider would you choose, and what would you give to get one of his skills or styles he has maybe in life or on a bike? Does it work? Maybe if one guy is like Win can manual, the Bernard Kerr can nose manual. You know what I mean? So,
totally.
So which rider would you choose, and what would you give or what was worse for you to have one of his skills?
Perfect. That's a good question. I really like that. That's cool. Really cool. It'd be an interesting answer, I think, too. All right, man. It's been an absolute blast.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. This is.
Dude, you're welcome.
I could continue. I could continue the next 2 hours. So
literally anytime you want to come on and do this. Literally anytime.
Next time, I feel a bit bad because you told me before there's a bit like race talk. But now, even if I watch the slideshows, it's too much stuff, and sometimes I don't know if it's what's interesting for me. But I hope you guys out there have got a little bit into my life, my work, what's going on.
It's been great, dude. It's been really good. It's great to sit down and chat to people. I think it's fascinating. I love it.
But when will we meet in person? Will you come to Fort William?
I'll be at Fort William. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, 6. So we will be there.
We will have 1 or 2.
Perfect. That's good.
Possibly 3 or 4. You never know. Yeah, dude, I'll be at Fort William.
Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, for sure. Well, again, if you don't already follow Boris, hit you up on Instagram. Obviously, it's at Maddog Boris. Shit ton of followers, some rad photos. And then, is there anywhere else people should go to find out more or anything? Or is that the one stop?
No, I don't have my Facebook page is private. I don't have this photography Facebook. I'm not so into this. Okay. I think if someone wants to know more about me, I think it's my Instagram. I think it's a bit different to some other photographers. I think it's still pretty personal, with selfies, stupid tattoos. Not stupid. I think different. Let's say different. And I think Instagram is the easiest way. I don't have a video blog on YouTube or something. It's just Instagram.
No. Perfect.
So,
all right.
Thanks a lot.
Let's catch up again pretty soon. I'll see you at Fort William. And thanks a bunch again. Really appreciate your time, buddy.
I have to thank you, and I wish you a good evening.
Take it easy.
Bye.
Peace, man.
You.
There we go, folks. Podcast episode number 26 in the bag. Who'd have thunk it? Thank you ever so much for listening in. A little bit longer than usual, but it is what it is. We don't have any rules when we record these things. We just let it roll, see what happens. But hopefully everyone will agree it was an awesome insight into the life and mind and world of Mad Dog Boris. If you did enjoy the episode, don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, share it with your friends, and just generally spread the love, because it does really help. And also, I can't stress enough, if you can afford it, or even if you just want to go and share it, hit the link in the show notes for Franz Grossman's GoFundMe page. Obviously, he was injured riding in Mexico. Word is he's got some pretty traumatic brain injury, and why not? Let's try and raise a little bit of money for him. So that would be much appreciated if you can check that out. That's it. Have a great week. Thanks again, everyone, and don't forget to keep on rocking. Peace out, folks.